Trying the best.
And we are live like we are every Monday, or say 3 Mondays out of the month right here. This is the Tony Cutillo Show live from Pike's Pub in Southampton, 455 2nd Street, Pike. Get down here for the home of the $3 happy hours, man. My man Adam checking in. Yo, Adam, I'm back. It was only a week, brother. Only a week. We were off. A lot of things going on, some career news going on. Get involved with the conversation. Let you guys know where all the content will be at now. Some things, happen, and they happen for a reason, right? But we'll get into that a little later. As always, make sure that you're following the Facebook page for Pike's Pub, so you win all their entertainment that they post every single day, and food specials as well, with their fantastic menu here, like I said, right down the street in Bucks County in Southampton, PA. And as always, bets powered by our new found partner, which I have just signed a contract for, and that is the OddsShopper family and Tails. So I will be offering my bets like I was for Win Daily, but now we'll be over at OddsShopper. And again, you see it across the screen, man, for only $5 a week. You will get all the bets. I'm hooking up a Discord. We got some bets tonight. As always, we got the triple play. We got the Pike's Pub bonus bet. And we got a lot to talk about. I know everybody's been hitting me up talking about Joel Embiid. Is he soft, right? So we'll get into that. Obviously, this is not just Philly. I want to get into a lot of things. I want to get into the 2025 Major League Baseball Hall of Fame ballot, which is up December, I think 13th. The votes, or actually 31st, the votes have to be in. There's a couple Phillies on there. So I'm curious to see what everybody thinks about that. And as always, we got some guests tonight. So we got our boy Dave from Sirius XM. He'll be checking in around 8:15. Got my man Japan checking in. My man Japan, which is a great caller on Sirius. He is a betting maestro. So I can't wait to get him on as well about 7:45 to set us up for some bets for tonight's Monday Night Football game. And we got Jimmy Mack joining us live, talking about some Phillies talk, because there are some interesting talks about some of these numbers for guys like Alec Bregman that are out of this world that I'm really hoping are not real. So I kind of want to talk about that as well. As always, like and subscribe wherever you're watching us from. I will be honest with you, platform is going to change shortly. My man Big Cheese second in my you are a Japan fan. I like that. Japan is my god, man. Like, honestly, I tell us to people all the time, when you do this kind of thing, you meet people and you develop relationships with people, especially online. Here's a guy who lives across the map from me, but a guy that we talk to and we converse, life, family, sports, you name it. It all coincides, which is great. So yeah, Japan will be on about 7:45. My man Alan checking in says Eagles got that big win on Thursday. It was a great vibe at the link. Adam was there live at the link, man. I love it. I'm sure he was tailgating early. We got to get into that, man, because I have my own theories with that. And we got a big show. I will tell you a lot of stuff. I want to talk about, again, this is not just Philly sports. So if you have a topic that you want to talk about, like we say all the time, let's talk about it. It doesn't just have to be Philly. I want to talk about the underappreciation, in my opinion, of guys like Matthew Stafford and Sean Payton. Bo Nix. We're going to do the NFL rundown like we always do. Now, I've been getting told too, I'll throw the fan question for tonight. And the way I want to keep doing this is we're going to have 3 segments, obviously. And they're going to get bigger because Again, especially from a betting perspective, there's a lot. Yes, exactly. That Niners, listen, the Niners Super Bowl window is getting slammed. So I was just having this conversation today. 5-5, a team that, listen, man, I have to agree. I do watch First Take. I like First Take a lot. And I have to agree with Stephen A. He talked about, it's hard to continue to get to the big dance year in and year out. It works on you, right? It's a tiring process. And that window is closing, and the fatigue definitely sets in. The fatigue sets in. Okay. And that's the biggest problem here, that you have older players and now they have injuries, right? Now they have the next man up. They have the next guy up. You already see their gem and Christian McCaffrey already getting dinged up. You saw Trent Williams getting dinged up this year. They haven't had, obviously, Fred Warner in and out of the lineup, Ward in and out of the lineup, right? Greenlaw in and out of it. Hasn't played since last year, right? Ayuk, obviously, Debo in and out. The list goes on and on and on. So, there's a lot of good football right now, man. Again, we got the good. I wouldn't say good game tonight, man. I guess that they gave us the good game last night that went down to the end, but tonight's a tough one to watch, man, unless you're betting on it, which we obviously are. And again, make sure you're getting over to OddsShopper Tails. As always, the link is in the description. That is my own personal page. Let me just tell you what's cool about OddsShopper is I get to be my own person. And that's what the cool part is, right? So, I get to be my own person with the help and the support of 154,000 subscribers, okay, which is unbelievable. Okay, shout out to Aton Shander for hooking it up and get me to the right people and put me up in front of the scene on who I need to talk to and how I need to get my voice heard, right? So, again, that's what's really, really fun. This is what I love to do, right? And it was a big step. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I had to really look myself in the mirror because, I had to decide, is this what I want to keep doing? And I was 3 years straight up, man. 3 years I was with Win Daily. 3 years I was hosting on Sirius. Now, does that mean I'm not going to be on? No, it doesn't mean that. But from a Win Daily perspective, I am out. I am completely disconnected. It was 100% my decision. Sometimes in this industry, things get stagnant. Sometimes things run their course. And sometimes you just don't feel like you're part of the team anymore, right? So when you get that vibe, it's time to say, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to go. And, I don't want to get in. I'm not going to badmouth anybody. I'm not going to get into that. Things happen. It is what it is. Water under the bridge. Long story short, I will tell you that it was my decision 100%. And now I'm happy, man. Now I'm happy. We are going to, listen, the Tony Cutillo show is going full throttle. I'm getting it all together right now because I finally figured out that I want to start something from scratch, completely from scratch, literally, brand new social media, brand new YouTube, with zero people. I want to start it from scratch. I've never done it. I've never done that before, and that's what I want to do. So we're going to talk about that. And again, if you get over to oddshopper.com right now, if you use the code word Jigsaw, you will get 40% off your first purchase. Okay, so they allow me to do that. I'm telling you right now, man, you cannot beat $5 a week to get at least about 20 to 30 bets a week, man. My man Adam checking in as always, my boy. Bigger and better things for you no matter what you go. I will support your content. I know you're always there, big dog. I know that, man. I appreciate it. We all good, man. We are all good. But you know who's not good? Okay, is I got to ask some questions tonight. And hit me up, right? Again, if you want to call, I'm going to post it in the chat right now. If you want to get on the line, you can call, open yourself up to the people in the bar, the people watching right now, 158 people watching right now. Do you want to open up to those people? Do you want to throw your comment out there? Okay, do you want to get on the line? Okay, I'm going to put it in the post right there. And this is very simple. You don't need a camera. Okay, this is all phone. This is technology. Okay, all you need to do is click on that link with your phone and boom, you're in. Okay. You will be in a green room and I'll get you online. Let us know what you want to talk about. Because right now, what we got on the agenda tonight, number one, okay, we got the question. Okay. Do you believe Joel Embiid is soft? That's question one. And I only ask that because I don't believe that, but I've been getting told that all day. I be getting told that all day, and I will give you my idea and the reasoning behind it. Okay. And then we got another fan question. Okay. And this is, I can't wait because I know Jimmy Mack's going to have stuff to talk about this too. Would you pay the price for Alec Bregman, which is ridiculous of what we're hearing, and or Carlos Estevez? Would you pay that 340 million for Estevez? So I'm curious. And the final question of the night, can you now say the Eagles are Super Bowl contenders? Can you now say, listen, we're here now. We arrived. We showed up. Now, I will tell you, I was talking to a couple guys before they got out of here, and the first thing they said, we talked about was how scary the Detroit Lions are. How scary the Detroit Lions are. They remind me, okay, they remind me of us in 2017. They've clicked, okay? Literally, they have clicked. Okay, so I want to get into that as well. Now, my man Adam checking in. Let's start on the Sixers, okay? Because why not, right? Because the Birds are always going to be, we got tons of Birds talk. I will talk about whatever you want. But Adam wants to know, do you think Embiid is going to get traded this season or he'll want out? Listen, Embiid is untradeable. Okay, so I'm not saying, but I'm just letting everybody, like anybody that think he's untradeable, man, like that's a pipe dream. It's over, right? This is who you have. Okay, I made this statement again 2 years ago, and I'm going to stand by it, that he is going to demand that he wants out. This is the year. Okay, I call before any of this other monotonous stuff happened. You know, eventually it just gets tiring. Just like I was tired where I was at. Joel's probably tired. Now, again, I'm not saying that he should be, but what I'm saying is this is how athletes work. Okay, this is how they work. And this is why a lot of people are saying he is soft. Now, I disagree with that. Okay, I got into a little discussion today, which is great. My man Will on Twitter, which I hope he calls in. I know he's watching like he always does and listening. But the reason why I say is this: here's a guy who has played with multiple injuries. Here's a guy who has played with one leg. Okay, now his basis for saying he was soft was that he's always injured, and I think that's wrong. Okay, you cannot a player that's awfully injured cannot be soft. It could just be bad luck, right? A guy who is saying I'm sick, a guy who's saying my toenail hurts, that's a little different. Okay, but this guy, okay, he's not soft because he gets hurt. He gets his face broken. He gets his orbital bone broken. Okay, he's a 7 foot plus giant. Okay, that has soccer feet and that has skills we have not seen in a very long time. Of course, his knees are going to take a beating. Of course. Why is he soft? See, here's the problem. The problem is I blame this 100% on the Sixers. Okay, 100% this is on the Philadelphia 76ers. The transparency, okay, of this organization when it comes to injuries and their players, 100% is what allows these players to take all this heat. Okay, Joel Embiid 2 years ago, okay, wouldn't have taken the heat if the organization was straight up about his knee. And it's happening again. Okay, it's happening again. Where's Daryl Morey at? Where's he at? Nobody hears him. Listen, I'll tell you one thing, too. I don't know how much you guys watch. I don't know how much, but I like to look and listen to everything. And when I listen to Nick Nurse talking, I love Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse is tired, bro. My man is tired. He is like, yo, man, he's Brett Brown tired. Remember when Brett Brown had to keep coming up to the microphone? Remember Brett Brown had to keep saying it over and over again. And you knew, God, listen, I praise the hell out of Brett Brown. I don't care what anybody says. That dude, he took bullets for that organization. Okay. And it was not easy. It was not easy. And he was probably relieved to be the hell out of here. And I think the same thing's happening right now to Nick Nurse, man. Nick's like, I did not sign this up. I did not sign up for this. Like, I did not. And honestly, this does not look like a Nick Nurse coach team. And the only reasoning I can have for that is because he's tired. Maybe he's not on his A game, right? And I think this is something that is a huge concern. Huge concern. Adam says, how many games are they going to have him sit out? Embiid and Paul George are to see, man, it's a joke. It is. It's a joke, and I get it. Like I get they keep talking about it. Well, guess what, man? You damn near have to get to that point, don't you? You're digging yourself a huge friggin' hole, and it's not getting any better. I don't want to look at anybody else. I want to look at us. I want to look at us, and right now we do not look good. Okay. Adam says, I don't think Barkley is soft either. He just had right. He's talking about all the injuries that Saquon Barkley had. That would be exactly, you know what, Adam, it's a good point. I got to tell my boy Will that because, that's my point, man. My point is you cannot play softness based on players' injuries. It just can't happen. Now, again, I still think that he needs to be better right now. Right. I do. I think he needs to be better right now. I don't want to get now all that stuff to happen with Marcus Hayes and things. That's past, right? That's over. Okay. But my thing is with Joe is, he went to the Olympics, which I will say this again. I don't doubt him for that at all. Like, honestly, like I actually, I think he should have went. And I know everyone says it's crazy, but I do. Listen, that's a one-time opportunity, right? That's a one-time opportunity. So I have no problem with him going. I don't. What I have a problem with is, again, do you think anybody would have a problem with it if they were straight with us about this injury, about his shape, about his knee, about what, again, this is the problem. It's all about transparency. Right, Adam? It's all about transparency. My man Big Cheese second in says Detroit is the 49ers of last year. Every team they play the week before lose the following week. They played the Texans last week. Does Houston cover tonight? Yeah, they covered. Dallas sucks. LOL. Listen, I'll be honest with you, man. Did you see that money line is minus 355? Who the hell is betting the money line? You damn near you're making zero cash on that money line, man. Like you have to absolutely bet the cover, okay, to make any kind of coin. Now, when I did my parlay for tonight, I went a little different. I'm going to show you that later. I know my man Japan's got about 3 or 4 bets that he wants to pose up here again and again this weekend. 15 bets hit. Okay, hit the big parlay the other night. Okay, and the pick'ems each day 2 out of 3. Man, there's not many people hitting at that percentages. Okay, shout out to the OddsShopper team. Shout out to the Tails team. Shout out to the EV. And again, make sure you get signed up $5 a week, man. You just can't beat it. And I'm going to be starting my own Discord, which will be fun as well. But Big Cheese, let me tell you something, man. I don't think they're the 49ers of last year. Listen. Detroit's, and again, we again, it's the Tony Cutillo show right here live from Pike's Pub, 455 2nd Street Pike, down here in beautiful Bucks County in Southampton. Get down here if you can. If not, check in live online with the 171 people that are watching right now. Okay. And if you want your comment in, throw it in. If you want to get live on the line, the phone line is open. Again, we got Jimmy Mack coming up later talking Phils. I got Japan coming up talking about Monday Night Football. I got Dave Gleckner from SiriusXM coming up talking about NFL and NBA. And who knows who else is going to check in like we always do when we get around to these shows, which are fantastic. Shout out to Kai Carlin, good friend of the program, 76ers beat reporter as well. He is in Miami tonight. Good luck watching that direct that you get to watch, which absolutely sucks. Okay, and again, I don't know how many points are going to score tonight, but again, today was the anniversary. You know what today's the anniversary of? It's the anniversary of the Jimmy Butler closeout shot, okay, for the Sixers against the Charlotte Hornets. I am calling them Charlotte because that's why I love the Charlotte Hornets. But again, man, that was the last opportunity, in my opinion, to where we had a viable opportunity to win a championship. I wish I missed Jimmy. I really do. Obviously, he's not the same Jimmy right now, but that version of that team, oh man, it could have just went the right way, man. It sucks so bad that we couldn't finish it off, and that Jimmy's no longer here because he's the closer, man. He's the closer. And right now, this team does not have a closer, right? And let me ask you this. I want to get back to the Embiid thing, and I want to get back to the Sixers thing for a minute. What kills me, too, is how come Kyle Lowry doesn't get load management? Kyle Lowry's standing here 40 years old playing 40 minutes. I don't see Kyle Lowry getting load management, right? He keeps playing. Eric Gordon, he ain't getting load management, right? And that's the crazy part to me, right? That's the crazy part to me. Listen, I'm all about, trying to prolong your career. I'm all about trying to get to the playoffs where we want to be and not have an early round exit. I completely agree. I understand all that. But at the end of the day, number one, transparency wins out. And number two, you still can't dig yourself a dynamic hole that you're digging right now. Listen, it's not just about the record, okay? It's about the cohesion of the team. It's about them playing meaningful minutes together, right? It's funny how everything is a round robin approach, right? So when the team gets new players, the first thing they do is they talk about, hey, they need time to gel, right? So we got to give them time. We got to give them time. Nobody's talking about that now. Now we just want to give them time off. Nobody's talking about them gelling now, right? And that's my issue. That's my issue. So we're gonna get into all of that with Joel Embiid. I don't feel he's soft. I will go around the NBA because again, this is not just Philly. Okay, this is not just Philly. The reason why I got into this business is to be able to talk everything. Okay, and that's what I love about it. That's why I love when I go on Sirius and I'm able to talk about different topics, not just Philly. Okay, when I could talk about the Rams, when I could talk about Matthew Stafford. Okay, when I could talk about Sean Payton, what he's doing out there in Denver. Okay, what again? Did anybody watch that? What they did to the Atlanta Falcons? They completely destroyed them. Bo Nix, 80% completion percentage. 80% broke a rookie record for 4 touchdowns and 80%, man. Listen, there's a reason why these guys, you can hate them because they're arrogant. You can hate them because they get under your skin. But God damn it, dude, that dude can coach. Okay, you can say whatever you want. He knew what he was doing. He didn't want Russ. He didn't want that squad. He knew he needed a year to get his team to where he wanted it to be. And how many people thought Bo Nix could win football games in the NFL? Not many. Not many. And not only is he winning, man. My man is playing like an NFL starting QB1. It's insane. Unbelievably insane. I love to watch it, man. I'll be honest with you. I love to friggin' watch it. My man Richie D checking in says, Embiid, no one would have a problem with him going to the Olympics, but coming in and out of shape in a bad knee, this team is digging him. Exactly. Huge hole, man. Huge hole. Again, Broncos dismantled the Falcons, man. I'll tell you what, they really made Kirk Cousins come back down to reality, didn't they, man? Then Kirk Cousins came right back down to reality against that defense out there in Denver. And listen, Big Cheese, I'll tell you what, man, Knicks Rookie of the Year, man, I'll tell you what, man, I know everybody's on Jaden Daniels. I get it, and rightfully so. The kid is special. What happened to Jaden Daniels last week, though? Right? And listen, he's still special. He's still elite. But he ran into a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio. That's what he did. Okay, how many times do we remember Jim Johnson doing that back in the day? Right? Making the guys look pedestrian. That's what these stud defensive coordinators do. How many times has Spags, out there for the Kansas City Chiefs, made the opposing quarterback just look like a stagnant figure? Right? Think about it. This is what these guys do, man. This is what these guys do. What did they do? What did Pittsburgh do against Lamar this week? They made him look ordinary. And so again, yeah, I mean, listen, I heard my man Rich before he left said Seth Joyner was on today. I love listening to Seth. Right? I am not 100%. I'm not a big radio guy. I think I would knock myself out if I had to listen to the Philly radio every single day because it's the same thing over and over and over again, and half the people don't even know what they're talking about. But one thing I do is I like when they have people on, and I love listening to Seth. right? Because obviously people, whether you be here, people watch, and we grew up with Seth, right? So we know what he's all about. He's not afraid to sugarcoat things. And he said this is the best defense he's seen in Philly since the 90s, man. That's a big, that's a big call right there, man. That's a big call. So it should be very interesting to see how they continue to go. Listen, man, like Vic Fangio, I said this before and I said it again. I have a theory, and I want to see if everybody agrees with this. And again, now that we're swinging over a little more NFL, something happened out of the bye week, and everybody's like, what happened? What do you think happened? And again, and we'll bring this fan question up right now. Can you now say the Eagles are Super Bowl contenders? Are you comfortable now saying they are back in the Super Bowl hunt? Okay. Now, what I will say is I honestly, what I think's happening? And you guys know I'm not a Doug Peterson guy. Everybody listen, no, I'm not a Doug Peterson guy. Like he won a Super Bowl in spite of himself. I'll say it. I'm not ashamed to say it. Okay. And there's a reason why he's going to be out in Jacksonville, because he's exposed. He is who he is. Okay. The one thing that got him that Super Bowl, my man's all out the champions hat, I like it, right, is his coaching. Not his coaching from his other coaches, right? That's what won. Frank Reich. Again, sometimes your coordinators are more important than the coach himself. And I think that year, from the players and the coaches, is what won that Super Bowl, not Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson kept those guys in line. Doug Peterson was exactly what they want Nick Sirianni to be. And when Nick Sirianni came into the first 4 games of the season, he was not the Nick Sirianni that Howie Roseman wanted. He was not the Nick Sirianni that we wanted. Okay? So in the bye week, what happened? They told him, yo, you need to go to the Nick Sirianni we want, and you need to give more responsibility to guys like Kellen Moore, guys like Vic Fangio. And I think there's a reason why it flipped the script, because now you see Nick Sirianni being who he is, right? Being who he is, the motivator, the family guy, the guy that keeps everybody together. I don't want you calling plays, right? I don't want that. And I think that's exactly what's happening. I really do. And I think that's what flipped. Okay, because now all of a sudden you get guys like this defense. I can't stop talking about it, man. Like, honestly, we could talk about Cooper DeJean all day, Quayon Mitchell all day. Studs, right? Studs. But how much Nakobe Dean can we talk about? Zach Bond. Like, have you heard and again, he's a very vanilla guy. Vic Fangio, straight to the point, man. And that's why I love Vic. So I love Jim Johnson, right? Straight to the point. And when they asked Vic Fangio about Zach Bond, I thought it was very, very, very telling. Listen, Howie Roseman is the guy who wanted Zach Bond. And he brought Zach Bond, and he brought the name up to Vic and said, I see this guy as a special teams monster and an outside kind of weak linebacker. Vic watched the tape and said, nah, this guy's going to be a strong side linebacker. He's going to be one of the leaders of my defense. Just like that. And what is he doing? He's a leader of the defense, right? So, you got to go with what works. And that is these veteran coaches. I've said it all the time, man. I've said it all the time. So, again, I do think that, yeah, Rich, I believe it. It's either the Eagles or the Lions coming out of the NFC. Listen, to me, it's 4 teams. Okay, it's the Chiefs and the Bills in the AFC, and it's the Lions and the Eagles in the NFC. Very simple. It's those 4 teams, in my opinion. And I think there'll be maybe an upset here or there, but I'll be honest with you, man. Like, is almost the way the parity has been lined up, in a way a lot of these things have, basically reared their ugly head. I really look at this and say, that's where we're going to be. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. I am scared to face that Detroit Lions team, because I'm watching that Lions team and they remind me so much of us. Like I said, when we won the Super Bowl that year, guys clicking, veteran leadership, young guys clicking, the coach having a good time, the court. Nobody talks about Ben Johnson. Like, everybody has to remember, Ben Johnson had the opportunity to get paid, back the Brinks truck up, right? Back it up to get paid. And he said, nah, I want to see this thing through in Detroit. And he's the guy calling the damn plays. He's the guy that has that machine cooking out there, man. Like, and I'll tell you, man, you look at that squad and you look at, and I am not, again, not a Goff guy, but here's what I will say about Goff. I kind of look at Goff in the same, and don't laugh, but I look at it in the same lens as I look at Jalen Hurts. And what I mean by that is I think they're both limited. And I think they both need the proper play calling and the proper plays in order to play mistake-free football and to be able to win games. They are the difference, in my opinion, they're in between game manager and stud. That's my opinion. I think they're right in the middle. I do. And listen, if Trent Dilfer can win a goddamn ring with a Hall of Fame defense, well, why do people think Jalen Hurts can't win a Super Bowl with an elite defense that we have right now? Right. So that's the only thing I will say. Like, we need to temper the expectations a little bit of what Jalen is going to be and who he's going to be. And I think if you do that, right, and you focus more on the other plays at hand, I think you'll be okay. My man Big G Sexton, he says, oh man, look at that. So he's placing bets while we're on live right now. He's got us Paul Skeens. And look at that. NL rookie. Oh, I mean, he had this place. I'm sorry. NL rookie of the year future ticket at plus 800. My man's going to be cashing that. I like him. I love when people cash some future bets, man. Nick Sorensen needs to get out of San Francisco. He says his play calls are so vanilla. He is awful. Listen, is it Sorensen or is it Brock Purdy? Is Brock Purdy finally coming back to reality? Right? Well, I was told Brock Purdy was Joe Montana. I was told Brock Purdy was, oh my God, like Brock Purdy was the end all be all. It's amazing what happens when teams get film on people and when all of a sudden they throw coverages that you can't really disguise. And then at the same point, when you have when you have injuries and you don't have Christian McCaffrey back there running the show, it's amazing how vanilla you look, right? I mean, these are the same players. George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams, same players. They didn't change, right? They didn't change. So we just can't all of a sudden give these guys, and we're going to put them up on a pedestal. We got to hold them accountable as well. And their defense is awful right now. But again, that's because of injury, right? Fred Warner is the best goddamn linebacker in all football, right? Exactly. No Greenlaw, huge, right? Huge. No Greenlaw is a huge deal, right? A huge deal. No, Tre'Davious Ward in and out of the lineup, huge deal, right? I mean, you basically take two of those guys, leaders of your defense. I mean, that's the big three, right? Ward, Greenlaw, and Warner. And technically, right now, all you have is Warner. Okay, so because Greenlaw, obviously, he's not playing, and Tre'Davious Ward, listen, here's a guy who's in and out of the lineup with injury. So right now, you got Fred Warner holding down a fort. And obviously, you got Bosa, right? You got Joey Bosa, who, I'll say this, man. Like, you ever see something and it, like, really, really takes your breath away in the sense that you go, wow, I never realized that. So I'm watching the game last night and the Chargers and the Bengals game. And I want to talk about that game in a minute because, again, not to pat myself on the back, but told you about the Jim Harbaugh teams, man, meaning with the quarterback, right? So for all, I will say again, this is the Tony Cutillo Show live right here, Pike's Pub, Southampton, PA, 455 2nd Street Pike. Wherever you're watching this stream, make sure you're liking and subscribe. Make sure you get over to Facebook. And again, that you like and subscribe to the Facebook page for Pike's Pub so you get all the events every single day and the food specials as well. I do have the menus I'll throw up as well. So you guys know what you can get right here. Ward is out because of his family. Awful. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's right. It's not injury. It's because I don't even want to talk about it. I need to step away for a bit. He did have a tragedy. I forgot about that. Man, it's all about the Niners. Between that and Purcell, right? Like, it's amazing. But looking at that game last night, let me talk about that game for a second. Because, all offseason, and for those you don't know, when January comes, that's when I start. Again, I'll be on Sirius on Sunday nights, every Sunday night, 7 to 9. or it'll be in the morning. They always give us a different schedule when it comes to end of January, early February. And every single week, I got told that I was crazy for saying Justin Herbert was going to be a starting quarterback for fantasy football. And again, my man Big Cheese checking in. Yeah, yo, my man, absolutely. I was able anytime, man. Thanks, Go Japan. He's my boy. Absolutely. Cheese, as always, I appreciate it, man. Again, every Tuesday night, keep it going. And you got anything you want to talk about, let me know as well, man. Call online is open. And I talked about it on Sirius because we were doing a lot of fantasy drafts. Obviously, it's fantasy sports radio, right? So we talk a lot of fantasy and sports betting. And my analysis when it comes to fantasy sports betting, I look at a lot of different things. I look at coach speak, I look at analytics, I look at scheme, I look at coach, I look at coordinators, obviously talent, right? But I always looked at the way it's almost like a quarterback whisperer, right? Like you can say whatever you want, but the reason why Colin Kaepernick had success for that 1 or 2 years was all about Jim Harbaugh. Okay, so Jim Harbaugh is exactly what I just said about Jalen Hurts, about Jared Goff, being in between, right? He is not a game manager, but he's not a stud. Justin Herbert has a hell of an arm, but he can't control it, right? Maybe he couldn't read a defense. Maybe he had issues. Well, what did they do? They dumbed it down a little bit. Not in a bad way, but saying, what can we do to get you clicking? And if you look at his numbers in the first 4 to 5 games, his attempts were way down in the double digits, in the teens. Okay, his percentages were a little low, but this guy's he's only turned the ball over 2 times the entire year. 2 times. Okay, and why is that? Okay, why is that? And the reason why that is because they are putting a system in place to highlight his skill set. And now look what's happening. Now look at that game last night. A couple of those balls that he threw, I don't care if that Cincinnati defense sucks ass. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, a couple of those throws were unbelievable. Okay, especially that one to Quentin Johnson. Especially that one to Will Dissly. Look, you talk about a seam route where he cut the corner and the safety in half. I'm just saying, like, those are throws that we all knew he had, but it had to be brought out by the right coach, by the right system. And that's why I look at this 49ers system right now. As much as we love Kyle Shanahan, he's going down the same road, right, with Brock Purdy, like his dad did for so many years with many different quarterbacks. Rich says, absolutely, Justin Herbert has a cannon arm. So they scaled the offense back. They're running the ball more. And you know what, Rich, it's a great point. And that was when I was in the offseason and I was on the show and I consistently kept trumping up Justin Herbert. Everybody's like, dude, why do you love Justin Herbert so much? I'm like, number one, I love Harbaugh. But number two, what did they do? They went out and they signed 2 bulldozers for running backs, J.K. Dobbins, okay, and Gus Edwards. And they said, we're going to play smash mouth football, old school, right? And what's that going to do? It's going to open up the pass. It's going to make you, as a quarterback, it's going to make you more comfortable, right? Not have to make the big play, not have to bust it out, right? And that's exactly what they're doing, right? That's what I saw. And that's what they've been doing with J.K. Dobbins. That's what they're doing. And I love last night where they started off and they said, I'm going to go throw a little twist. We're going to throw Gus Bus in there to start it off. Right? And again, man, this is why you like these old school coaches. Again, you look around the NFL right now and look at the decisions that are being made by the old school coaches, not the new school cats. Remember Mike McDaniel? Oh, yeah, this guy is an offensive guru. Look at it. This guy stinks. He stinks. He can't coach, dude. I don't care how quick he runs in the tunnel. I don't care how many vapes he's smoking. It doesn't matter. This guy cannot coach. Okay? That's why at the end of the day, nobody's talking about Miami anymore. Okay? Nobody. Okay? But who are they talking about? Talk about Denver. Who's the coach? Sean Payton. right? It's all about the Chargers. Who's the coach? Jim Harbaugh, veteran coach, right? It's all about the Commanders. Who's the coach? Dan Quinn, right? Again, and I'll say it's all about the Eagles. Who they talk about? Not Nick Sirianni, Vic Fangio, old school coach, right? So the coaches, listen, I will say there's an exception, and I'm a huge Matt LaFleur guy. So Matt LaFleur in Green Bay is one hell of a coach, man. One hell of a coach. So, he is the new school, the old school meets new school, right? He is. But you go around the NFL, again, you have to look at some of these coaches, and a lot of these new guys, man, they stink. Look at the job that Sean McDermott's doing out there. Amazing. He's a Jim Johnson disciple, right? So let's think about that. Think about McDermott, right? The hell of a job he's doing out there in Buffalo. Listen, nobody was talking about them to start off slow, right? Nobody gave him a shot. They get rid of Stephon Diggs. They got no number one wide receiver, right? What are they going to do to Matt? Listen, Matt Milano gets hurt. Tremaine Edwards is gone. Tre'Davious White gone. I mean, everybody's like, what are they going to do? And what's he do? Puts them right back in Super Bowl contention. Again, old school coach. Say it all the time, man. So a lot of guys that were flashy. Listen, we dealt with it here, right? Do I dare say Chip Kelly? Right? Do I dare say Chip Kelly? So when we dealt with the Chip Kelly era, listen, it was great for a quarter, right? The first half of football against then the Washington Redskins, okay, when we were absolutely, it was an abomination. But then after that, it just sunk, right? It just sunk because it was unsustainable. And then you had a coach that in his mind had such a big goddamn ego, okay, that couldn't get past it. And he's better off being an offensive coordinator like he is right now for Ohio State, right? And same thing happened to Cliff Kingsbury. I thought Cliff Kingsbury was an offensive mastermind, not a head coach. That's why he's doing so well right now in that role. So again, it's all about those old school mentality methodologies. It's always when you look at this, and that's why I think Vic Fangio is pulling the strings. Kellen Moore is pulling the strings, and we finally have Nick Sirianni where we need him to be, right? Winning in spite of his coaching decisions. He might be a fantastic father, which he probably is. Looks like he's a great mentor. Looks like he's a great leader of men. That doesn't mean he's a great football coach, right? So a lot of people, listen, full transparency. Like I say this all the time, and I've said it before. I coached soccer for many, 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 many years. Warminster, Southampton, you name it. Okay. Was I the best fundamental soccer guy? Hell no. You look at me lately, I'm not running no triathlons, right? But at the end of the day, what I made sure is I had a coach with me who was unbelievable. Fantastic trainer, fantastic soccer player, because I could lead young men. I could coach a team or I could lead a team. It doesn't mean I was a great fundamental coach. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. So can you now say that the Eagles are Super Bowl contenders? I think I can. Right? I think I can. I think this was that game. And again, the game against Washington, it was what's going to happen after that first half. Because again, I was waiting to see what was going to happen. I was waiting to see and that was the most important part to me. What was going to happen? So, and again, they really dialed it back. Okay. And again, I know people want to, can we finally get a petition that to say that the MVP doesn't always have to be a damn quarterback? Because right now, I don't think you can tell me there's another player that means more to their team than Saquon Barkley does to the Philadelphia Eagles right now. There's nobody. If that award is supposed to be the most valuable player, the player that means the most to his team, it's got to be Saquon as the top guy right now. It has to be. Listen, Josh Allen put on one hell of a performance last night. Okay, that final drive That final play, that's an MVP caliber play. So, yes, Josh Allen right there as well. But how many games would we not be winning? How many games would we have not flipped the script if we did not have Saquon Barkley? And who out there were the people that said Saquon Barkley was dead? Who were the people out there that said Saquon Barkley was tired? Who were the people out there that said Saquon was finished, man? I even heard people say that Saquon Barkley was going to be our 2000s DeMarco Murray, man, in the 20s. Oh my God. Like, are those people standing up now? Are those people willing to eat crow? That's the one thing I'm always willing to eat crow. And I don't mind eating crow, man. Like, for real. Like, at the end of the day, if it works out, fantastic. Like, I have no problem with that. No problem eating crow, but a lot of people don't want to. But listen, Saquon Barkley, damn near I say looks even better than he did over the last 3 years. And this is another topic of conversation that I got into in the entire offseason. Okay, because when a lot of people talked about Saquon, the first thing I said was, damn near he's never run, okay, behind this type of offensive line. He never did. So again, that is a huge deal. Did you see some of those holes that were being opened up? He just needs an inch, man. And then the cuts, the spins, he was clocked as the second fastest player in all of the NFL this year. The second fastest player, not running back, player. The second fastest. There's some fast mofos in the NFL right now, man. Youngsters too, young boys. And Saquon, number 2 fastest. That's unheard of. Nobody would have thought about that. Nobody. And again, that's a testament to taking care of your body. That's a testament to constantly working and grinding. That's a testament to knowing your limits, right? I mean, here's a guy, like Adam said earlier. He checked in, talked about a guy that was hurt a lot. Everyone wants to call Joel Embiid soft because he's hurt. No, don't call Saquon soft because he was hurt, right? I'm just saying that Saquon, I really think, even myself, I think if you said that you saw this kind of basically a destruction of opposing defenses happening from Saquon Barkley, I think you're lying. Nobody could have saw this. I mean, the guy leads the league in rushing. He leads the league in lines from yards from scrimmage. I mean, he's getting 20 plus carries a game. And I know a lot of people were talking about, should we worry? Should we worry about overuse? Should we worry about usage? I don't think so. I don't, because there's going to be times when you're going to dial it back. There is, right? Like the other night, like it's different. Maybe I'm wrong. And again, Frank's going to be here next week. He had to roll out of here, but just from a coaching perspective, I'd love to ask, looking at it, does it make a difference if you get 20 touches in 3 quarters as opposed to 20 touches spread out in 4 quarters? Meaning, you're playing an extra 12 minutes of football, even though you're not getting the touches, you're still on the field. Because I think it does, right? So if you're going to get 20 plus touches and you're going to get that in basically 3 quarters time, I don't think it's as bad as being that every down back for 4 quarters straight. Even if you don't get the touch, you're still going to chip. You're still going to run a route, right? You're still going to pass protect, right? You're still going to do things even if you don't get the touches. So I think it's more about snap count to me than it is about touches. So I think, if the snap count gets up there to a very, very high peak, I think maybe they dial that back. And again, I think they know that, right? They definitely know that. And listen, they're on their way. They're on the way to being able to rest some of these guys as well. Now, I can't wait for the Detroit matchup. I think that's going to be it. Man, everybody's going to be talking about that, right? Everybody's going to be talking about that. And just looking at those two, like head to head, and just breaking it down. I mean, there's so many similarities, right? But the one thing I will say, man, and the one edge that we have is obviously we have an edge defensively and they have an edge offensively. Now, yeah, I would 100% like I love Saquon. They got two guys, Imani and Jahmyr Gibbs, who can absolutely destroy an opposing defense. And then you got to worry about a tight end in Sonny Laporta. Then you got to worry about Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then you got to worry about JMO, right? Then you got veterans like Khalif Raymond out there running around, Tim Patrick. Like you have a lot of cats out there that are have the ability to make plays. Even Brock Wright out there making plays, right? From a blocking standpoint, like they've run that kind of dual tight end system, just like you see out there in Kansas City, where they treat Brock Wright more like a Noah Gray or a kind of that, almost like Buffalo with Dawson Knox, I should say, right? That's kind of the way they embody and implore that position. And listen, it's going to be a challenge, right? It's going to be a challenge. But the good thing is we're sitting here talking about it because after 3 or 4 weeks, we were just hoping we were going to win the next week, right? We didn't know what was going to happen. So a lot of good stuff right there. And then again, this is the Tony Cutillo Show, brought to you again, as always, by Rise and React Media, www.riseandreactmedia.com. And bets, as always, now powered by OddsShopper and OddsShopper Tails. We'll get to that as well. You see the link on the bottom, oddshopper.com /picks/experts. I can't believe I'm calling myself an expert. No, I'm just kidding. /view/jigsaw. You get 20 bets plus a week. You get a premium Discord. It's $5, man. Like at the end of the day, it's $5. And I can tell you something right now, and I say this all the time, and all you need to do is look at it. But again, I had 4 people that came over from the WDS family that signed up instantaneously with me with their support. And again, it's not just my picks. It's based on the, you'll get my parlays, but you also get some of the OddsShopper EV plus money odds and the high winning percentages as well. And again, 15 bets hit, average 5 per day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay. And all four of those people that signed up for the week made their money for 6 months. Okay, off of those 15 bets. And again, not crazy amounts of money. We're only talking about $5 a week, right? So they were able to parlay that into a 6-month. And again, that's why I do the things that we do, right? We have fun. I love talking sports, and I can parlay that analysis, into the sports betting realm, into the fantasy sports realm. I'm not the guy that says, hey, here's a BetParks app. Here's the code. I like the Eagles tonight and have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. No, I'm actually in the sports betting industry. I actually do the research and do the work. It's what I do all day long. So it's a little different. Okay, it's a little different. If you use that promo code Jigsaw, you get 40% off your first purchase. Now, swing it over to baseball for a little bit before we take a break and we get my man Jimmy Mack up here to talk about what the hell is going on with the Philadelphia Phillies. I want to talk a little MLB Hall of Fame 2025. And I'm going to put this image up on the screen. And again, these are the guys that are eligible, right? These are the guys are eligible. And actually, no, I'm going to come back with that because I forgot to download it like an idiot. So I'm going to download that while we're talking. So first things first, let's get into the talk for the Philadelphia Phillies when we talk about this Alec Bregman talk that came out, right? So everybody was excited about Alec Bregman and saying, you know what? Yeah, if we trade Alec Bohm, we get Bregman. And then the number came out with 10, 11-year deal. The number came out with this $300 million Manny Machado kind of numbers again. And now we had to think about that. And I'll tell you what, man, that is highway lunacy. You cannot do that, right? We cannot do that. I'm curious to see what Jimmy thinks as well, and I'm pretty sure he's going to feel the same way. But just looking also from a salary perspective, we're going to look at the salary. Okay, we're going to look at the salary. Oh, I just got the alert. That's why he said that. My man, Big Cheese, man. I got to give you a little round of applause, man. That's why he said that. I just got the alert that they just did announce Paul Skeens NL Rookie of the Year. So he did cash his plus 800 ticket. Man, my man hit 80-1. 80-1 on Paul Skeens, man. I know he's treating. he's treating the next time I see him. Shots out to you, Cheese. Good job, man. Can't wait to see what other futures you're going to clash as well. But looking at the 2025 salaries, for the Philadelphia Phillies, I'll tell you what, man. Again, payroll is at a premium. Okay, payroll is at a premium. So you look at this. We're going to break down again. We're going to break down. Who is making? I was shocked that I seen some of these numbers. I'm going to be honest with you. I was absolutely shocked. I didn't think they were that high. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not think they were that high. But some of them are very, very high. Obviously Zach Wheeler at the top, so we'll get down to that. But let's get to a couple unfortunate words. I don't want to bring this guy up, but how about the biggest heist in NBA history? Which I see, these are certain things that I see as I scroll around social media, so I can bring to the shows, so we can talk about. This is going to make you cry a little bit. Ben Simmons signs a 5-year, $177 million contract with the Sixers, guaranteed annual salary of $35.5 million and a base of 40.3. Okay, and how much did he play? And he's still not playing right now. It's just crazy. So he is one of the biggest heists, if not the biggest, in NBA history. Now, here's a stat for you. I'd like to throw stats out there for the Eagles. Since the bye week, like we talked about, Nolan Smith has the 15th highest pass rush win rate amongst edge rushers at 16.2%. Okay, for reference, he was 129th in 2023. So talk about that progression. That shout out to Thomas R. Peterson on X for bringing that up. And how about today in 1981, on this day in 1981, Philadelphia Phillies legend Mike Schmidt named National League MVP for the second year in a row. 31 home runs, 91 RBIs, 316 batting average, and a 435 on base percentage. And it was just announced that his documentary is going to be coming out as well on MLB Network. So that's certainly going to be something of obviously importance to us in Philadelphia. My man JD says, I'm keeping Bohm. Good defense, 92 RBIs, and can play first. Listen, JD, I understand, and I would love to see him kind of rebrand himself a little bit and grow, just like we're talking about some of these young guys for the Eagles, right? I would love to see. I feel like the Phillies are forward thinking here, and they're saying to themselves, like, me and Jimmy had talked a couple weeks ago, we're going to continue to talk about it, that they're going to have to pay this guy eventually, and you're going to be talking about a rental when it's time to possibly move on from him, because you're not going to be able to afford him. Okay, so they're probably thinking that they can get a good piece for him now, or he's going to walk away for nothing. And we've seen that around Major League Baseball, and it doesn't do well for a lot of the teams. Okay, so that's one of the reasons you say need left field, center field, and pitching starters and relievers. Is Crawford ready? Now, I don't know. Is Crawford ready? I don't know. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into, is Crawford ready? Is Aiden Miller ready? Are these guys ready? Who, are we going to get a young arm in a rotation? Because what I want to talk about too is there was some silent whispers around that possibly, it wasn't that they were shopping him in the beginning, but a lot of teams were seeing what, Crochet was garnering in a package deal and started to inquire about Ranger Suarez. And the Philadelphia Phillies start to listen a little bit. So they're starting to look, maybe, we can get a really good haul for Ranger Suarez. And if that's the case, do they do it? It's going to be a very interesting all season. Like, Madeline gets promoted, right? He's one of the young horses in Major League Baseball. Okay, when it comes from an analytics standpoint, when it comes from a business standpoint, Middleton's going to do whatever he can to win. We already know that. But I think there's going to be a lot of secondary moves that a lot of us aren't predicting yet. Everybody's so focused on Juan Soto that the secondary market is going to be where I think the Phillies really need to attack. I do think, listen, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what his cost, and I'm going to get Jimmy's feeling on this, but I would love to bring Max Scherzer in here for a year. Like at the end of it, like I'd love to see him in our rotation. Whatever he's got left, I'm good. Like 1 year, just like that you saw with Verlander. Give me 1 year, man. I'm in. I would go after Max Scherzer. Right now, obviously, he's not going to want a 1 year deal, right? But I'm just saying, if that's a possibility, I would definitely. That JD said. Now there's a pipe dream, JD. That's not going to happen. I don't think. He says Ranger and Rojas for Mike Trout. I think that Mike Trout wagon has left us, man. And again, the one thing about Mike Trout is right now, unfortunately, uh, listen, the gods of Father Time, even though he's not old, but the injuries of Father Time are really catching up to Mike Trout. We've obviously seen the best of Mike Trout. Now, as a secondary player, listen, I'm not hating it, right? But at the end of the day, I think you're going to have to give up a little more than Ranger and Rojas to get Mike Trout, even at this stage of the game. We shall see. But listen, like I said, the secondary market is where I really feel that we could definitely attack. But listen, man, we've gone around the horn like we always do. We went Eagles, we went Sixers, we went Phillies. Just as the whole opening segment introduction. When we come back, we're gonna get to some live Phillies talk with my man Jimmy Mack, talking Phillies, talking salaries, talking, are these young guys ready? Is the secondary market something we can attack? What's the latest on Juan Soto? Again, we just bring you the best of the best here on the Tony Cutillo show. And then at 7:45, we're going to have my man Japan calling in, and he's going to give us some NFL MVP talk and some Monday Night Football bets. I'm going to get into as well. I'm going to talk it over with him. Again, he's a great friend of the program, calls me every weekend on Sirius, and I can't wait to get him on the program here. And then 8:15, we're going to get my man Dave Gleckner stopping by from Sirius XM, talk about the NBA and the NFL, and talk about, is Matt Stafford underappreciated? I'm curious. So keep it locked right here on the Tony Cutillo show. Right here, brought to you, yes, Pike's Pub. Give this man a drink. My man Jake always takes care of me, JD. Always take care of me, JD. Well, we will be back in about 5-10 minutes for segment 2 right here on the Tony Cutillo show. And we are back from break right here on the Tony Cutillo Show, right here live from Pike's Pub. As always, at 4:55 seconds your Pike, where you find us every Monday night from 6 to 9, talking all things sports, local, national sports betting, and fantasy football. As always, I was going to say fantasy sports. As always, bets powered by OddsShopper, OddsShopper.com, and the OddsShopper Tails family, where you can get a betting membership for $5 a week and 40% off your first purchase if you use the code word Jigsaw and talk to me every day. Who doesn't want to talk to me every day, right? And try to win you some bets, as always, and brought to you by Rise and React Media, where we can make your dreams come true in the media. But right now, it's Phillies talk time. It's Phillies talk time. And if you want to get involved in the conversation, just make sure you click on that link in the side of the messaging, or I should say in the comments. Click on that. No phone needed. No camera needed. Just need a phone. Click on it. Boom. You'll get online. I'll get you on the line if you want to talk any Phillies questions, any ideas, get your comments up. I got my man Jimmy Mack with me to talk about what the hell is going on with these rumors about Alec Bregman. 300 million. Is Boris, is he off his rocker, man? He's got to be, ain't he?
Well, I think if he thinks he can get 11 years and 300 or the 350 million, like they gave Machado, there's no chance. It's going to be another April signing, where he signs a 1-year deal to come in late with some team and try again next year. But it is scary. And I think where Boris is coming from is he knows he has the leverage. So if you need a third baseman this year and, you're not in a position to trade and really the inventory is low. There's not very many good third basemen in the league. Bregman's it. If you look around at other options, Bregman is the top of the low. Paul DeJong, Brandon Drury, Kyle Farmer, Enrique Hernandez, Ahmed Rosario.
Yuck.
Donovan Solano, Gio Urshela. Any of these guys interest you at all?
No.
Yeah, even as a stopgap.
No. Is there a Pedro Feliz kind of guy out there?
I think Gio Urshela is probably the closest, and he's not. His on base percentage was 279 last year. That's brutal. I think you might be able to get on base almost as often.
Let's not go too far, man. Let's not go too far.
279 is brutal.
I'm not. Yeah, that doesn't make me excited.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's where Boris is probably coming from, and I think he is thinking. Steve Cohen's out there, and Steve Cohen is thinking about maybe moving on from the polar bear at first base. And maybe moving Vientos across from third to first, and maybe then, can Bregman fill in, or be plugged in at third base with the Mets?
Wow.
And obviously Cohen's got a lot of money to spend this year. They dropped about $200 million from the books this offseason. I heard a little bit of MLB talk about the Mets over the weekend, and fans there are thinking. They're thinking they're going to get Soto, Bregman, and Burns.
Wow!
And if you're a Phillies fan,
you don't want to hear that.
That's gotta be scary, yeah.
You don't want to hear that
because they just beat us without any of those guys.
Wow!
With those guys, that team would be tough.
That's scary, man.
Yes,
so I don't want to hear that at all.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm pushing. I push for Soto.
Yeah,
you're going to spend the money. If you're going to spend big money, don't spend it on Bregman. Bregman's not worth big money.
How old's Bregman, by the way? 32.
I think next year he'll play his 31 season.
Yeah,
31 season.
I mean,
he's too old to give 11 years to.
No
he's
way.
Too old to give 10 years to. I tell you the truth, I didn't want him at 6 or 7 at 25 apiece, which is what which is really his basement because that's what Chapman got from San Francisco.
Yeah, that shocked me.
Yeah.
The Matt Chapman deal shocked me, man. Like exactly. I was like, what? I was surprised. I was surprised.
Me too. I was surprised he got that much.
Wow.
So I think the So I think Boris is crazy to think he's going to get that. But you know what? He's going to get more than the 6 or 7 at 25 too. And, so he's not totally crazy. Boris, he had a rough year last year.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's going to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yep.
He's going to kill the market with Soto, and I think he's going to do right by Bregman as well. Not 11 years and 350 million, but something north of 25 million a year for at least 6 or 7 years.
Well, he's like, you have Drew Rosenhaus, right, in the NFL, who always gets something done, right?
Yep.
Clutch Sports, who always gets something done in the NBA, right? Paul, right? Rich Paul.
Rich Paul.
And now, listen, Scott Boras is the guy, and if he wants it, he's going to. Somebody, it's crazy thing is somebody's going to pay it, man. Like somebody is going to pay it. I just don't want it to be us. Yeah. So let me ask you this: how about in the bullpen? Because the other guy, Carlos Estevez, 3 years, 36 million.
Yeah.
Do or don't do?
So he's not my first choice. So I'd actually, if I'm going to retain one of the free agent bullpen arms that the Phillies had at the end of the year, I'd take Hoffman over Estevez.
Okay.
And I'd take him for the reason that he was just a little more dominant. Better strikeout rate, better, maybe a little bit more movement on the pitches. He might come in a little under that. Now I've heard all kinds of rumors about Hoffman. I've seen it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
9 million
that.
a year, and then I've seen it as high as 14 or 15.
How about the starter thing? You buy into that?
I don't really.
Okay.
I mean, it didn't really work with Jordan Hicks.
No.
With San Francisco.
That was weird.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know that Hoffman wants to go that route again. I think he's comfortable. He never was successful as a starter.
No.
So, why mess up a good thing? So, it's probably intriguing to him, but if he can get just as much money to pitch, 60 or 70 innings as he could to pitch, 150 to 180.
Yep.
Why would he tempt fate?
That's agent talk. I feel like that's agent talk.
I do.
You know what I mean? That's agent talk.
Too.
That agent say, how do we maximize that money? And you got to be a starter.
Exactly.
Right? You got to be a starter. That's how you maximize the money.
Exactly.
Definitely. So if it's not Estevez, what do we do?
Well, I still think Tanner Scott's my favorite arm out.
You did talk about him.
Yep. And if you're going to spend, 12, 13, 14, 15 million a year, I think Tanner Scott's the better bet. Completely dominant stuff. He is, he looks the part and plays the part of the closer. He's overpowering. He's a little wild, but he certainly did a great job from May on last year of controlling that, his pitch is much better command, and was much more dominant. I mean, he was almost untouchable.
Yeah.
So I like that better than, Estevez is Estevez has again, he's got good stuff, but he's not overpowering.
No.
He doesn't strike out 12 or 13 per 9. And I think that's what you want out of your closer, right? You want that, kind of Mariano Rivera feeling. Enter Sandman plays as he enters the stadium, and the other team's like, all right, let's just pack up and try and get him again tomorrow.
Yeah, he didn't blow me away. I think he was steady, but like you said, he wasn't that overpowering force. He wasn't that guy that I thought, wow, like this dude's blowing people away, right? Like I wanted Edwin Diaz. Like I wanted trumpets. Like I wanted music, man. Like you said, Enter Sandman, like Billy Wagner type shit, but we didn't get that. And I felt like he only had 2 pitches. And if that over the top fastball wasn't located, he had nothing.
Yeah. I agree.
Right? I mean, I didn't see it. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I'd go another direction.
Yeah, he was too inconsistent. He only pitched like 20 or 25 games for us, but too many, 6 or 7 of them were not good. So that's just too much inconsistency for me, especially if you're going to pay top dollar.
My man Adam saying, "What's up, Jimmy Mack? Great content." Adam checking in as always from afar. And let me ask you this, because there was some, and again, we're going to get into the Alec Boehm thing and what's going to happen and things of that nature. But, sometimes from an executive standpoint, you could go into an off season and you could expect one thing, but maybe something else comes up. And when you have a young, controllable arm, and he is young, okay, controllable arm that's not got a lot of mileage on it, that it's going to be in high demand. And I don't think the Phillies went into this offseason and say, we're going to trade Ranger Suarez. However, there's been some teams that have inquired. And listen, Dave Dombrowski, doing his due diligence, takes a conversation. Does that mean he's going to get traded? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, though, is they're listening. So, I know somebody talked about Rojas and what do you say, Rojas and Boehm, and what do you think it would take for the Phillies to say, you know what, we're going to deal Ranger Suarez?
Well, I haven't heard any names back yet. So
yeah, me neither.
That's the one thing. It's one thing to inquire, but what are you going to get? So for the right deal, I think he's in the point of his contract where it makes sense to look and see what's out there. He's only got 1 year left before he becomes a free agent. Last year was certainly up and down. The ups were really high, the downs were really low, and you don't know. You certainly can't try to lock him up long term based on last season.
No.
So the Phillies are going to have to go into this year potentially rolling the dice with him. If he ends up putting it all together and having putting two halves like the first half of last year, well, then he's going to be able to hit the market and ask for $30 million a year. And the Phillies probably can't do that. Taking orders and seeing what's out there, taking offers and makes sense. It's hard for me. I almost think Ranger would have to be a second piece to fall. So
makes sense.
Because obviously the Alec Boehm rumors are out there, and the Phillies have done nothing to stop them.
No, so nothing at all.
Yes. So you have to think that's real.
That's crazy, man.
And Boehm. The problem with Boehm, though, is he'll be very hard to replace.
Yeah.
For the same reason, like Bregman is being, Boris is asking for the world for Bregman because there's just not much inventory out there. So what do you do if you trade Boehm? You're not going to go into the season with Sosa at third base or Weston Wilson at third base. Please, no. So
can't do that.
Have to, yeah. So you'd have to get somebody else. And, probably the most interest I saw in Alec Boehm in the week and a half or so that he's been floated was Seattle. And Seattle could definitely use the offense. They've got a ton of starting pitching.
Who's their third base? Is Seager?
No, Seager's he's retired. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's how.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to that.
Who's the third baseman in Seattle?
So it was, up until last year, it was Eugenio Suarez.
Oh, Suarez.
But they traded him to Arizona.
Yes.
And frankly, I don't know who their third baseman was.
Wow, Suarez is like, let me bat 178, but hit 40 homers.
Yeah. Yep. Now, so could Seattle do that deal? Yes, I could see Seattle thinking, yes, we want to bring in Alec Boehm, and we'll trade one of our young pitchers. The two names that I've heard floated the most, not necessarily for Boehm specifically, but just floated are Bryce Miller and Brian Wu.
Okay.
Of the two, I want Miller. He's pitched more innings. He's had more success. He's got a little more dominating stuff. And would I do that? I would do that if, on the flip side, you had a Ranger deal with some other team for at least a 2-year stopgap replacement. Because if you trade Alec Boehm, you have to replace him. You can't plug one hole and leave another gaping hole that would be harder to fill.
Yeah,
because third baseman is, like I said, it's such limited inventory of guys that you would want to have, as your starting third baseman.
Now, do we have anybody in a farm system?
So obviously, Aiden Miller is their number one prospect. Actually, he's been rated. That last year as Painter was coming back from injury, he leapfrogged Painter and became the number one prospect in the farm system.
Okay.
But the problem with Aiden Miller is he's had 21 at bats in Double-A, so he's not ready.
So he's not ready.
Certainly not in 2025. I'm not even sure if he'd be ready to start 2026, and that's where it becomes like Bohm staying where he's at right now for the next 2 years, and then potentially walking as a free agent, or this would be weird in a pennant race, but could the Phillies trade Bohm mid-season 2026 in his walk year to get more assets for, but that would be trading like contender with contender.
Yep.
And again, that's weird. So you might just have to let him walk. But if
which
you do,
sucks, man.
which it does suck. But if you've got a Miller in the wings and he's ready, he's proven in the next year and a half that he's ready.
Okay.
Then I think you walk away because what Alec Bohm hasn't proven yet is he's worth big money. He's an excellent bargain this year at the estimated $8 million he's going to get in arbitration.
Yep.
Excellent bargain. And then, in 2026, if they still keep him because Miller needs more time, then he might still be an excellent bargain at let's just say $15 million, assuming he has another year like the last two. But if he has another year like the next two, are you paying him $25 million? You're paying him Bregman money? What Boris wants for Bregman?
Hell no.
For Alec Bohm? Yeah, no, you can't.
No, definitely can't.
So for me, again, listen on the Bohm front, but unless you have a second deal lined up to replace him, I don't think you can trade him.
Yeah, it's funny because we talked about how the Phillies are doing nothing to silence the rumors, right?
Yeah.
But they're also doing you don't even hear whispers about like extension talks or new like you could tell they already know, right? But you make a good point because I didn't think about that. I didn't think about now. Here's what I'll ask you though, and play devil's advocate, because a lot of people are putting Aiden Miller in these trade conversations for Garrett Crochet.
Yep.
So if that happens, how's this whole dynamic change now?
Yeah. Well, if that happens, then I think you're married to Alec Bohm. I don't think you can. Ooh. I don't think you can trade him. And the other thing about Crochet is, are you sold on him based on what I'll call 3/4 of a season? Because he was managed last year. He's had multiple injuries, elbow with Tommy John, which doesn't concern me. Shoulder in 2023, which does concern me. To me, Tommy John is Tommy John's an inconvenience.
Yeah.
Anymore. Put you on the shelf for 12 to 18 months, depending on when the injury happens. You miss a season and a half of baseball.
Yep.
But shoulders can ruin your career. You might never be the same guy.
True.
They've never fixed, Tommy John's surgery revolutionized elbow injuries. Well, guess crazy. What? Nobody's revolutionized shoulders really.
No.
Each one is still a risk, and some come back and some don't. So I wouldn't, I'd be very careful about Garrett Crochet. And the other thing about Crochet is that he's only got 2 years of control left. So, you're going to have to make a decision on him and pay him big money in 2 years when you're still going to be paying Nola big money. You're going to have, Sanchez will be in the meatier part of his deal. Depending on what happens with Ranger, is he still here and signed, or so you're going to have big money in the pitching staff already. Do you extend Wheeler again if he puts up 3 years like he did the last 5?
No, but
he's not going to want to leave.
But no, I think he's done though.
Do you really think?
Yeah, I think he's done.
He's going to walk away after that?
Yeah, I think I just he seems to me as he's such a grounded person.
Mm-hmm.
That he was very, very adamant saying this is my last deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wants, he's putting everything on his career. So I do you think the Phillies are smart enough to actually? Do you think they're thinking that far ahead and saying
they better be?
Well, no, with Garrett Crochet.
Oh yeah,
because he would basically replace that money.
So he would,
right?
Except for the fact that again, you look at where the money comes. Watch the money, and Crochet, having to pay Crochet in 2 years versus having to pay Aiden Miller in 6 or 7 or 8, depending on when you call him up. It's like, where do you keep looking at that rolling money, and look at when's money falling off the books? When's it going to have to come on? Having an Aiden Miller and a Justin Crawford and an Andrew Painter is what's going to balance the ability to have your Wheelers and have your, JT, if they resign him for a year or two, just to be the bridge before Tate's ready, or, that. So this is where they have to be planning this and looking ahead and saying, okay, so, right now they stand with the most, right now, before the free agent market has really moved, they have the most committed money of any team in 2025. And
wow.
So now they have to look at, okay, yeah. But a lot of that money falls off in 2 years, they lose over $100 million in 2 years. So, they're going to be a little more flexible if you're looking 2 years out. So could they sign a Crochet then? Yep, they probably could. But what else do they have to do? Then you're going to have to replace Castellanos. You're going to have to replace potentially JT again, depending on what's going on there. Schwarber. These are key members of the team that are either going to have to be re-upped, and if they're re-upped, it's big money, or replaced. And right now, we don't have the farm system to replace those guys. So that's going to be probably shopping elsewhere. And again, those trades or free agent signings aren't cheap, either in prospect capital or actual money.
This is, maybe it's me, but it's just so crazy because it's like I felt like everything was figured out, right? Because we should have had a ring already.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, that's the thing. We should have had a ring and we don't. And now we have to forward think like, man, we're talking on the other end of the JT Realmuto saga, the Kyle Schwarber. Like, we have these guys on the other end, right? Zach Wheeler of their career. And now here we are, man. We're talking about draft capital. We're talking about next contracts. I don't know, man. Maybe it's me, but I'm getting nervous, Jim. I'm getting nervous.
Listen, you should be nervous. I actually look at last trade deadline is probably a failure. And again, they were hot as, going up almost into the deadline. They were a pretty hot team. They had started to fall off before the trade deadline.
Yep.
And I'm sure at the time they're thinking, well, we'll get it back. This is just a little lull in the season. It's long. It happens, but they never really did get it back. And that's where it's like you look back and you think, okay, you know what? We should have pushed more chips into the center of the table, because this was a chance to do some things in the postseason, and we failed. And it was, by the time the postseason came, I don't think anybody was surprised we lost to the Mets.
No.
That team was playing.
Yep.
They played against the Mets the way they played the last 2 months of the season, basically.
Yep.
So that I think was a mistake, and that was a lost opportunity. Now, who knows? Maybe they don't beat the Dodgers anyway. Even if they moved on from the Mets, maybe the Dodgers beat them.
They probably would have.
Yeah, probably,
they probably would have.
Yeah, probably.
The way they played.
Yeah, exactly. But if we had made big moves, maybe if you got Crochet then, and you had a third, another dominating arm. But again, I really never wanted Crochet, so I can't blame.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
Dombrowski and Middleton for not bringing him in. I'm scared about shoulders.
Yep.
If I'm going to have to give up a lot, I don't want to give it up on a guy who, might miss the next 2 years with shoulder and then never come back to the way he was when you traded for him.
Because like you said, I mean, you alluded to Tommy John, right, as being an inconvenience, which I think was really good. Again, we're talking with Jimmy Mack here, talking Phillies hot stove, free agents, salary talk right here on the Tony Cutillo show, right here live from Pike's Pub. And the shoulder is something that can consistently be a hindrance and could be a long-term hindrance, right? So it's like somebody that comes with, back in the day when like Tracy McGrady, one of my favorite players in the NBA of all time, had microfracture surgery in his knee. It was like, bro, you're never going to be the same. Like, you may have flashes, but you're never going to be that guy again. And that's what scares me about Crochet as well. Now, flipping the script to the other end of the spectrum, we're talking about the offense. What do you think, you could see them doing wherever it be, outfield, where offensively, do they get another big power bat in here?
Well, The only real power bat that fits perfectly is Soto.
Yeah.
It's
Like you said, yeah.
He'll play left field in Philly. He would, he could play an acceptable left field in Philly. It's not that bad, it wouldn't be brutal. But his bat would play perfectly. Really the only negative is he's left-handed. But that's the only
another lefty in the lineup.
Exactly. That's the only negative, though.
Yep.
But left field is the obvious position of need. You have, if there's one position on the field you have to change for next year, it's the production they get out of left field. And what Soto would provide would be that high contact bat, good average, excellent on base percentage with the walks, excellent power, drives in runs, tough at bats every at bat, doesn't strike out, doesn't chase, so he'd be perfect. Now, obviously the Mets and the Yankees also think he's perfect. The Dodgers probably even think he's perfect, but my guess is he stays East Coast and probably most likely stays in New York, but
I think so too.
But that almost makes me think the Phillies just have to try harder, because if you let him go to stay in New York, then he's only going to haunt you. When you talk about getting nervous about winning a championship. Well, this is the kind of deal that would make other teams nervous about the Phillies. Now, other guys, Profar is probably the only other left fielder free agent that's available now that has that kind of bat skill. So low chase, low strikeout, high walk. Obviously he's not a fantastic hitter. He's solid. He's good. He had 24 homers last year, but that was his career high.
Right.
So, so do you expect that again, or do you just think, maybe 18 to 20, which still would be acceptable?
I was going to say, I think it would be good. I'd be happy with that.
Exactly. And if he strikes out only 100 times in the season and he walks 85, that's great. That's a big improvement over what we had this year with Marsh and Hayes and Clemens and whoever else filled in on occasion. So that would be a big win. It's just, there's only one home run they can hit in this offseason, and it's Soto.
And it almost seems like with Middleton, he's already relegated to the fact that he's not going to get him. So, he's sure come out like, unfortunately, he's kind of just like giving you a heads up, like everybody relax. Not that we're not going to try, but looks like it may not happen.
Exactly. He has definitely, and hopefully that's to set us up for a huge surprise. But I also agree that I think he's being realistic.
Yep.
If everything's equal, he's probably staying in New York.
100%.
So can Middleton make it unequal? Can he either outbid Cohen? I don't think there's any problem outbidding the Steinbrenners. They become cheap.
No, it's
from New York standards.
That dude from that Cohen, there's a crazy bastard, dude. Yes. I don't put not past him.
I don't either. But
I mean, like, you just never know, man.
But could Middleton, kind of like he did with Turner?
Yes.
He got Turner to agree to less money. Now Turner, this was geographically more desirable for him. New York's probably geographically more desirable for Soto.
Yep.
But can Middleton do what he needs to do to make Soto really, really interesting? Again, I don't know. We're not privy to any of those behind the scene conversations. I saw a report that Carlos Baerga has mentioned that the Mets opening bid was $660 million.
Wow.
Again, doesn't surprise me. And if that's true, and what he didn't say was the years.
Wow.
So if the years were, say, 10 to 12, and 12 is probably likely it would be 55 million for 12 years. That's pretty easy math. That's going to be tough. Wow. If it's 15, well, then now 15 is all of a sudden is, now you're talking almost, Wheeler money.
Yep.
For a guy who's going to play his 26, his year 26, season in the majors, which is, again, amazing. I mentioned a couple weeks ago that he's the seventh guy who's going to hit free agency prior to his year 26 season. And the others are all excellent players with one outlier. And, again, he was an outlier because he was just a very good player who got called up young. But everybody else is basically a Hall of Famer or not going to the Hall of Fame because of steroids. So Soto's in that group. Soto will be in Cooperstown one day.
Yes.
And
100%.
so, again, I go all out and, but even, with Steve Cohen and the New York advantage, you all out might not win. So I get Middleton's point.
He's just listen, one thing we can say is it's never going to be for lack of trying, right? Like
Yep.
it's not, and we have a pretty damn good general manager, or I should say president in Dave Dombrowski. So, these aren't guys who shy away. These are guys that just want to make sure that their money is invested wisely. And I think that was the whole thing. Everybody forgets that, Middleton's the guy who made the deal for Bryce Harper. It wasn't Clintack. Clintack, if it was up to Clint, we wouldn't even have him right now. It was Middleton. I'm just taking over, right? So the guy wants to win, but let's look at this though, Jim. Like, if Soto's gone and just say hypothetically, we can't get anybody else. Do you think that there is, possibly a guy, and we're not talking about like on a trade market that maybe we could pry away or something like that could be serviceable?
So I've not heard any trade names
in
the offseason that are interesting.
Okay.
I think obviously in the minors, we have our own Justin Crawford, who will be playing for the Phillies next year. Just when is the question.
Okay.
My guess is he doesn't start, in April with the club for two reasons. One, you still have you'd have the extra year of control.
Yep.
You can still play that service time game.
Yes. Well, you have to with a payroll like this.
You're right. You do.
You have to.
But also, he only had 220 at bats in Double-A last year. Now he's hit at every level, and he's been probably 2, 3, 4 years younger than the average player at most of those levels. So he will hit. He'll be that maybe that high contact, top of the order type bat that you want. He won't have, he probably won't have major league power for probably another year or two. That would be my guess. But could he hit for a high average, get on base, steal some bases, create some havoc, and play some good defense? Could he solve the center field problem? That's why I've never mentioned center field as a problem. I think, left field is the one that needs to be addressed because there's nobody in the system that can, that could take Marsh's place and improve the production. But, I do think Justin Crawford improves the team. I think Andrew Painter improves the team at some point next year. Again, I think he starts probably in the minors and comes up in the say May, maybe by the beginning of June timeframe to manage his innings so he can pitch the rest of the year. So, there are a couple internal levers that can be pulled, but left field is really that one place of need that they're going to have to fill externally. I haven't heard any, I'll pay, keep my eyes and ears open, for next show and see if there's anything out there. But I haven't heard any, what I'd call an interesting bats that have been floated as available to play left field.
Well, one thing's for sure, man. Nobody's going to get excited if we don't sign no big time guy, right? So,
sure.
Nobody's going to want to hear about Aiden Miller or Justin Crawford, even though we're, by the way, real fast, is that a Joel Embiid? I guess Joel Embiid is playing tonight. Wow. It went from doubtful to playing, huh? Interesting. Before as I was preparing for the show, he was doubtful. I'm actually shocked. Too. I'm shocked that he's playing right. So maybe he's not soft. Maybe he's not soft. But Jim, man, as always, man, awesome stuff. And as always, man, always welcome. Jimmy Mack, talking Phillies, man, always getting us the inside scoop. I could say this. Jimmy is ear to the pavement on anything that happens when it comes to the Phillies news. So he's my personal favorite right here on the Tony Cutillo show to talk about the Phillies. And we're going to take a break for 2 minutes, and we're going to get Japan on the line because we're going to talk some Monday Night Football bets. We got about 20 minutes before game time to get those parlays in, get those plus money props in, and get you winning some cash right here on the Tony Cutillo show. We will be right back. And we are back right here, man. I'm excited about this, man. I'm excited. Sometimes you bring people on that you never think would be on, man, but they are. And again, man, I'm excited because, again, this is the live Tony Cutillo show right here from Pike's Pub in Southampton. Again, brought to you by Rise and React Media, where we do our best to make your dreams come true in the media. And as always, bets powered by the OddsShopper family, OddsShopper.com, OddsShopper Tails. You can get 40% off your first purchase right now. For me, code word Jigsaw to get about 20 to 30 bets plus a week that we had a lot of success with this week. But I'm going to bring in somebody, man, that I've been talking to for over a year or two from Sirius, calling in, always dropping bets, doing fantastic work. And we're going to get into my parlay, his bets, the Pike's Pub bonus bets right here. Let's get into the Pike's Pub triple play right now. Man, look at this, man. I am excited. Japan, what is up, my man?
Not much. Thank you for having me on the show. First thing I got to say, if you are watching, before you do anything further, please hit the like button for us. Hit that like button. Let this grow. We're going to be everywhere. Thank you for having me, Tony. Let's get into it.
I love that, man. I love it. Wait, was that your boy, Big Cheese? That was second?
Yeah, man, that's my boy, Big Cheesy. I've met him about 2 years ago from betting and everything like that. He came in, show love. He has great knowledge, and he's a good capper himself. So you do got to tell his bets when he gives them out.
Dude, I love it because he dropped the he cast the futures, man, for Paul Skeens for Rookie of the Year, which is awesome. And again, like I said, we're talking some major Monday Night Football bets, strategy, and NFL MVP race for my boy Payton. Give him a follow at JPAN_5 on X. He is an avid supporter of all things Sirius XM, all things X, all things sports betting. And Japan, number one, man, like I was watching, I know you're a Khalil Shakir guy, and I was watching that game last night, and I looked at that last play, and I'm like, from Josh Allen, right? And I'm like, dude, that's an MVP play, ain't it?
100%. And right now, I mean, he's playing really good. It could be the number one receiver that he has, but I'm not going to say that. He's all around turned his game around this year. Less interceptions, being smart with the football. And, I mean, he might be able to take it away if he doesn't do anything, maybe a 2-interception game or anything like that. I think he does have the MVP wrapped in a bag if he keeps playing the way he is.
I'll tell you, man. So let me ask you this before we get into bets, because you just said that about Josh Allen. I brought up and I know it's a quarterback-driven award. Right, but from an unbiased person, I keep saying that somehow, some way, Saquon Barkley needs some kind of recognition for being in this race, even though it may not be there from a betting perspective. It's not traditional, but this is MVP, and I still think, besides Josh Allen, I don't think there's another player in the NFL that means more to their team right now.
You're 100% correct on that, but instead of maybe Saquon MVP, maybe offense player of the year this year. I mean, he's definitely got that wrapped in the bag way, what he's done with the Eagles and brought him up. And now the Eagles should have seen why they should have signed him a contract. He is worth every penny. That man is doing great. I mean, a couple weeks ago, he looked like he was at Penn State. I was like, yeah, that's the Saquon we need. And I'm so glad I drafted him on my fantasy teams. He's doing really good for me. So can't complain.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, I know you were listening this all season, man. Remember, we're telling everybody, man, you keep that Bijan, keep the Breece Hall, CMC. You got to go get Saquon, man. And he is, oh my God, man, he is unbelievable. Now let's get to tonight's game. Now, again, unfortunately, it's the Cowboys with Cooper Rush, and we got it's a Texans special here, but listen, when you're a sports bettor, it doesn't matter. You always find ways, right? But before I get to you, I'm going to show you how I love my parlays, man. So I cooked one up tonight, and and honestly, man, tell me it sucks. Tell me I don't care. Like, I love that. It's all transparent here. So just so you know, before I show you, what I did was I kind of looked at it, and I was like, for the Cowboys, I want to go with a couple players that I felt like we're still going to be on the field, even if it's a blowout. And I took the other side of the Texans and said, you know what? I don't know how much Nico is going to listen. I know he's coming back. You never know. Soft tissue injuries. I'm not sure. I don't know how much CJ Stroud is going to be throwing the ball. I don't know. So this is what I did, man. So I took a 4-leg parlay. Okay. And I went with the over rushing attempts for CJ Stroud over 2.5, only because when I was watching the last 2 weekends, even though the Cowboys got smoked, the one thing they did do when Micah Parsons got back is they were able to get to the quarterback. So I just feel like maybe that rushes him out. Only 2.5. It's not a lot of rushing attempts for CJ Stroud. And then I took 2 guys on the Cowboys that I feel like, look, even if it's a blowout, Jalen Tolbert's not coming off the field. And to get 25 yards and with a guy with the routes that he runs is not that hard. So I feel like 2 catches could get him those 25 yards. And then here's maybe the sweat here would be the Rico Dowdle with over 3.5 receptions. My honest to God, the reason why I like this is because I think that Cooper Rush is just going to be trying to get rid of the ball as quick as he can, and his ultimate safety valve is going to be the running back in the flat. And then Joe Mixon, listen, his over-under is like 90. His R&R is like 107. Like, I went with 60 or more, kind of like just in case the game gets out of hand, they stop running the ball. That gave me a plus 840 with a DK boost, man. What do you think about that?
Love the CJ Stroud rushing attempts because you get the kneel downs if before halftime and at the end of the game. Then Tolbert has been doing great all season, so I love the 25 yards. Rico Dowd, the safety blanket for Rush and Trey Lance, because I don't think he's going to play the whole game, and I'll give you my here in a little bit. And then you got Joe Mixon at 60 plus. I mean, he's hit 100 in the last 5 games. I mean, that should be a no-brainer. He might have that by halftime and might not play the second half, depending on how well they blow him out. So, I mean, I like that. It's all
what I was worried about, the blowout.
Yeah, 100%. I like the parlay. I mean, like you said, the only thing you're really going to sweat there is the Rico Dowd receptions, but everything else should be doable. But we will see.
That's what I feel, man. Like, you got to take a couple chances, but I feel like when, a lot of people say to me, why do you bet so many parlays? You're doing all the parlays, right? And I'm like, my whole thing is I like to scale back. So my secret is, I look at like, I'll look at the rushing yards and what's the over and under. And yeah, okay, it's only like minus 110 for over 107 or so to speak. But even though the number's juiced up at probably, minus 250 for 60 plus, if I'm going to throw that a 4-legger with a DK boost, why not? I can still make the money, right? So that's the way I look at it. Now, I will say this. I always do a Pike's Pub bonus bet for every single Monday show. And I always do it anytime touchdown. So my Pike Pub bonus bet tonight is Jalen Tolbert's anytime touchdown for plus 370. So I feel like he's going to be the guy that's going to get that odd touchdown. He's going to be the guy that, is not going to get the rollover coverage. He's going to find that soft zone. So I'm going to go Jalen Tolbert anytime touchdown plus 370. Japan, man, what do you got for tonight for Monday Night Football?
So my first play will be the Cooper Rush under 33.5 pass attempts. I got this early this morning. I just don't think he will finish the game. He didn't finish last week's game, and I think they got to see what they got in Trey Lance moving forward with Dak. I mean, he's not going to play the rest of the season, so you got to see what you have in Trey Lance. So hopefully he gets out there, and then there's no reason for Cooper Rush, to hit this over attempts. And then I have Dalton Schultz revenge game. I'm just going to hit his anytime touchdown here. I got it at plus 350 on FanDuel. So I like that angle right there for him. And then my last play will be the Joe Mixon over 86 rushing yards. And I just played that just looking at the last 5 games. He's hit 100 yards in each game. So I do see it getting out of hand. But, I mean, Mixon, he's showing why the Bengals should have signed him and why the Bengals are in the spot that they're in and the Texans are in the spot that they're in. He is putting this team on his back, and he is putting in work.
I like it, man. Listen, I will say I was wrong on Joe, man. Like, seriously, like I thought, I said, you know what, Joe Mixon, he's good, but I didn't think he was this good. And now that he's healthy, I mean, he's everything of what this team needed in Houston as being that number one workhorse running back. And I don't know about you, but just watching him, I feel like he has an extra speed with him this year. I don't know what it is. Maybe because he's not in Cincinnati anymore, but he just looks like a quicker running back this year, man.
He is. I mean, it's just like, I'm here. I'm already here. I'm comfortable. Sign me. Give me the money. I'm worth it. Y'all don't want to pay me? Okay. I'm going to go see who is and who's going to show me and pay me and respect me. And that's what the Texans are doing. And everything the Texans have done in the last 2 years has turned it around with a great quarterback and then a great running back. Defense has turned it around. I mean, Texans are rolling right now.
They are, man. Listen, and I love D'Amico Ryans. I love their coach. We're talking about that off air earlier with a couple guys in Pike's Pub here, and obviously former Eagles linebacker, and former Texans, right? But he just has, he learned the Shanahan way, right? He learned how to lead. He understands how to be a player's coach by being a former player, and he commands that respect. And like a lot of people, even though he might not be doing great, but that's why Antonio Pierce was able to get the most out of his players out there in Vegas, because they respect him. He's not that far off from being on the field. Now, you mentioned quarterback, man. Let's talk quarterback. Let's talk the NFL MVP race. Now, we talked about earlier with Josh Allen, but and I said I have a little thing for Saquon, but you see any kind of value, like from whether it be a betting perspective or just overall, that maybe somebody could sneak in there and grab that MVP?
Not at this time, but last week I did find a lot of off after the 5 interceptions. I mean, at FanDuel they put him at 30 plus 3,800.
Oh,
and I was like, wow, he had 5.
wow.
Man, hold on, 5 interceptions. That's a lot for a game. But I could not pass that up. So I did put a quarter unit on it, just to have that in my back pocket. And I mean, it's Josh Allen. He is the favorite to win right now, and I hope he does win. But it's Josh Allen. He can throw 3 picks in the next game or 4 picks. I mean, I'm not. So then if that happens, then him and Jared Goff are even, and who has a better season statistically would be Jared Goff 100% almost in 2 different games. I mean, he's had a better season than and they will be the number 1 pick. Same with the Bills having the number 1 seed. I mean, but then the Lions have that narrative of everything turning around for them. So I do like that, having it in my back pocket. You can't get that now because it is at plus 600. But I
love it.
I had to play that when I saw that. I said, man, everyone has a bad game.
Right. And listen, I'm not a Jared Goff guy, but that is some major disrespect. I mean, like, honestly, I get it's 5 picks, but I mean, let's be honest. Like, if Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes did that, would they drop down? No, not like that. Right. So, I mean, this guy's been so good. And I'm not a fan, but, I mentioned, earlier, I'll see if you agree with this. We're talking about Jalen Hurts, and I was saying that he's doing what he needs to do in order for this team to be successful. And I think Jared Goff is the same thing. I think that both of those quarterbacks are between a game manager and a stud. They're like right in between. And I think that they are the kind of quarterback. Listen, as long as Trent Dilfer wins a Super Bowl, like with an elite defense, anybody can, in my opinion, right? Mm-hmm. So what I will just say is I think Jared Goff has just found Ben Johnson has really just structured that offense completely around him. That, again, I think they really did him a disservice by with that, dropping his odds down. That's good for you for picking that up, man.
Yeah, I saw it and I couldn't pass it up, and I was like, what, man? 5. I mean, everyone has a bad game. I cannot. But the only thing that worries me, if he does it again, then I know it's going to be in the garbage. But I got it. It is what it is. So I had to play it.
No, I like it, man. I like it. I like it, man. That's what you're a betting man. Again, we're talking to my man in Japan. You can follow him at JPAN_5 on X. Really great friend of the program. Would call me on Sirius, dropping bets every weekend. Don't know when you'll hear me on there again, but now you're going to hear me here. And again, shout out to the OddsShopper family for picking me up and say, hey, man, go join our 154,000 subscribers, and we'll put some power behind you, see what you could do. So we got some big things planned as always. But Japan, like, looking at the NFL as a whole, listen, I was talking about, I want to get your opinion here. I said coach and player this year most underappreciated coach this year, in my opinion, has been Sean Payton, and the most underappreciated quarterback this year has been Matt Stafford. Do you agree or disagree?
Yes, on the Sean Payton part, 100%. I mean, I went to when the New Orleans played Broncos. I was at that game. I was wearing my Tim Tebow jersey.
Nice.
I knew Sean Payton was coming to town. He was showing New Orleans, you don't let me go. I'm my brain, and I got a quarterback. I know what I'm doing. And he showed that. And he's done that. And you can see what he's done with Bo Nix. He's a rookie. And I hate to say it, Bo Nix isn't far from Rookie of the Year. If Jaden Daniels doesn't make to the playoffs and the Broncos do, come on. He's in the player right there. Bo has been playing great the last 4 weeks. Bo is good. I like him. And then Matt Stafford, I didn't think at the trade deadline, I thought they were going to trade him, but I'm glad they kept him. And he's doing really good with that team. I mean, he's throwing the ball to his receivers. They're getting it. But, I mean, he's doing good without a defense as where their defense we thought that was going to fall off and not do so much for them this year and has held their own. So that's not – well, I can say the coach, Mike Tomlin, has done amazing job this year.
That's my God.
I think he might have Coach of the Year. I don't think he's ever won it. And Mike Tomlin, with what he has done with Justin Fields and then putting the backlash he was getting for putting Russell Wilson out there of everything going smooth. And don't question Tomlin. I'll never question him again. I'm sorry that I did. Won't happen. It's just a good coach.
He is, man. I've always said that if, I love playing these little scenarios. I've always said that if you gave me the power to be an NFL owner or a GM and said, look, you could pick any active coach right now to lead your franchise, it's 199% of the time Mike Tomlin. I mean, that dude, he commands respect. He earned everything. And here's what I love about Tomlin, man, is Pittsburgh, ownership in Pittsburgh is not easy. It's not, they don't sign guys for millions of dollars. They are a team that drafts and builds from within. And for you to be able to never have a losing season, bro, dude, that's phenomenal. I love Mike Tomlin.
100. And then if you look at it, how many coaches have the Steelers have gone through in the last 30 years, maybe, or 40 years, maybe 3 coaches or something close to that. 3. I mean, when they find a good coach, they hang on to him. Whatever you need, we're going to get you. That is a great organization. Great.
It really is. And you made a good point about Sean Payton because, he is a very ego-driven coach. And when he got to Denver, the first thing I said, because I have a major man crush on Sean Payton from a coach's perspective because I love everything about him. And I said, he's going to swing this team. He doesn't want half the players that are on the squad. And I knew he didn't want Russ. I didn't and I like Russ, but I was like, Russ is not his guy. You could tell. And I said, give him a year, man. Just give him a year to implement his system. And now you're seeing it. I mean, look, like you said, Bo Nix, dude, the first rookie ever to complete from 80% of his passes and throw 4 touchdowns and over 300 yards. I don't care who was again. It doesn't matter. And again, that Atlanta team, that's Raheem Moore's a good damn coach. Mm-hmm. Like, he just completely, you do not want to get a chess match with Sean Payton.
No, and I mean, even Bo's doing it with his arms, but then he's doing it with his legs too. I mean, he's got a lot of rushing touchdowns in college, so I didn't see how they did not expect him to get rushing touchdowns in the NFL, especially as a rookie when you're just getting the game familiar to you and you don't know what to do. You're going to take off and run. So that's what he's doing, and it's been working for him, and I like it.
Yeah, man. I just, he's playing within a system. And, what I like, too, is he's developing such a great rapport with guys like Courtland Sutton, who I've always been a Courtland Sutton guy. There's another guy coming off an ACL injury 2 years ago. And if you looked at Courtland Sutton the last 6 games last year, he finally started, and what else did Sean Payton do? He got rid of Jerry Jeudy. He's like, this ain't my guy, right? This ain't my guy, right? So, and he brings in, you remember, so underrated when coaches do this, but he brings in a guy like Adam Troutman, who's not going to do a lot, but he's a voice. And he understands the Sean Payton culture. So I'm a huge Sean Payton guy. And looking what you said about rookie of the year with Bo Nix is exactly what I said earlier. Like, I Jaden Daniels is elite. Jaden Daniels, I don't care what anybody says, he just ran into a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator, and that happens, okay? In Vic Fangio. He's still, I don't think, any less Jaden Daniels. But like you said, I if he doesn't make the playoffs and Bo does, dude, Bo's gonna get that rookie of the year, man.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm leaning on that one. And I'm Jaden, he's good, but the only thing I think I question all of it is that the Bears took Caleb Williams, and then it's like, man, why? They would never even question Jaden. I'm like, why? But that's what they get, and now I hopefully Caleb Williams now is getting his tread, and so he should do good maybe in next year with a whole new coaching staff. Hopefully that's what the Bears do, bring in a new coaching staff for him to fit his style.
Exactly. They desperately need to bring in somebody to fit his style, man. But yo, Japan, man, I'm gonna let you roll. I really appreciate you hopping on for 15-20 minutes, dropping some bets, dropping some knowledge, talking some football, man. It's been a long time, bro. Like, everybody knows, man, it's been like 2 years on the radio calling in. I apologize that my last show I was not hosting. That's all I'm going to tell you. So it was, when I'm not hosting, I can't put people on. So you sat there on hold and should have been on, but I'm not going to get into that.
It's all good. It's all good. It didn't hurt.
You know what, bro? Listen. Let me say this. I see. I like that talk right there. So you have been supporting from day one. Okay, like, and you're a real life person, family guy, had a kid this year, and again, which I'm sure is doing happy and healthy, and again, you're just, listen, man, you're living out your passion, and just like I was doing, and I want to give back to as much as I can when people do that, and it works both ways, man. That's all I want to say, man. I appreciate it.
I really do appreciate you letting me come on the show. I will be back again. And like I said, if you are watching, please hit the like button, tell a friend to come watch it, and you'll have some fun. Get in the chat. We'll answer your questions. Anything we can do to help you out. We're all on the same team.
Yeah, brother. We're going to get that Discord flowing real. So I'm working on it this week, man. We're going to get that up and we're have some fun, man. Japan, you have a great night. Let's hit some bets, man. Let's cash some tickets and we'll talk soon.
You too. Y'all take it easy. Have a great night.
There's my man, Japan, my man, checking in live. And sometimes you meet people and you just never know where it's going to go. And he has been on his bets on Sirius, like, consistently, man, calling in. So now here's great, man. We just went from Japan. So now we're going to go back to Philly and we're going to bring in my co-host. Okay. Okay, because I don't care what anybody says. We got the best damn show on Sirius when they have us. I'm bringing my man. Hold on, I gotta put his name up here. So I got my man Dave Gleckner in here. My man Dave from Sirius XM, from Win Daily. My man talking NBA, NFL. Dave, what's going on, my man?
Yo, Tone, so good to be here. I'm pumped to talk to you. We got a lot of good things going on in Philly, and guess what? The Sixers are winning a game, so maybe something's going on, something's in the air tonight. So I'm happy to be here.
Something's in. Dave, I said before, like, again, you prepare for these shows and you're really not paying attention. So I'm on the air, and then I look up. I'm like, wait a minute. Joe's playing? I thought he was down. I had no idea he was playing. What's that about?
I don't know, man. I'm so frustrated with that situation. And there's a lot of good stuff. I saw that you opened with a great topic about trade or do not trade. And I think we've actually passed that point. I just think that ship has sailed. Like, what are you going to get for him?
Exactly.
I think we're in the middle of, you got to live with, unfortunately, the ups and downs, and there's going to be more downs right now. I was surprised too. He was playing tonight. I guess he didn't have that big of a hangover down in Miami, but there's one good thing we can say about the Sixers, and let's open up our discussion with it. Jared McKinnon's the real deal, and I'm really pumped. I'm really pumped because I definitely thought Dalton Connect was probably the pick at that time. And right now, Jared McCain has showed he's got more dog in him than probably the other 12 on this team combined. So I'm really loving seeing the fight. the attitude, the hustle. And if there's one good thing coming out of all this is, I mean, if you get this thing right and you got Maxey, McCain, George, Embiid all balling at the same time, you do have a lot of good options.
You really do. And that's why, I love, like, you were banging down that Dalton Connect train, right? And I get it, right? And the only thing I ever said about Jared McCain was, like, here's a guy who comes from a good organization, right? In Duke, even though I'm not a Duke guy, but you knew he was structured and he had a lot of energy.
Yes.
I mean, like, he had a lot of energy, and I think that was huge. And you're seeing that right now. The thing that sucks, though, man, is I don't know what it is, Dave, but when I watch this team, whether Joe's playing or he's not playing, or PG, like, no matter, I said earlier that I just feel like everything's lacking. Like, the energy's lacking, the excitement's lacking, the cohesion's lacking, and I feel like Nick Nurse just looks tired, bro. He just looks tired, Dave. And I said, I saw your hand, and I said, the thing that scares me about that is I think Nick Nurse, when people are like, this ain't a Nick Nurse coach team. It's not. But I think it's because he's like almost checked out. Like, I didn't sign up for this, man. Like, this is crazy. Almost brings back Brett Brown days.
Yeah, I love Nick Nurse. And I tell you, he's doing an absolutely awful job the first 12 games of the season. Absolutely. There's enough talent here to beat the Toronto Raptors. There's enough talent here to win some of these games that they lost. And you're right. His energy is completely devoid of itself. He's got – I don't know what's going on over there. He won't challenge some plays that look challenging. He's not in the ref's ears. He just looks like you said, I didn't sign up for this. I think that's a great quote because he started that when Embiid was hurt to start the season. Like, look, he's out there playing. I don't know what to tell you. He's out there practicing. He does seem very kind of almost fighting City Hall kind of deal here, the way he's coaching this team. Now, that could all change with a couple good games in a row, and we could get back in this thing. But I agree with you. The energy is gone except for McCain and Yabusele. You got to give credit to Yabusele, too.
Oh, huge.
I think he gives a lot of effort and energy. But outside of that, yeah, you're right. And when your coach doesn't have it, it allows you to not have it. So I agree with you. I think there's something coming down from Nick Nurse. I agree.
Yeah, it's a shame, man. It is. And I, like, who I feel bad for, too? Like, I know he probably doesn't care, but I kind of feel bad for Kyle Lowry. Like I said earlier, like, here's a guy who came in to play like 5 to 10 minutes. Dude's playing like 30 minutes. Like, he's older than all of them. He ain't getting no damn load management. Like, my man Lowry's out there playing starter minutes. Like, there's no way he's gonna last, dude. There's no way.
No, and he's not playing very well in all. But yeah, because of the minutes he's playing, I agree with you, and it's not going to last the whole season. And I've been down on some other players too. I mean, Eric Gordon has come in, and I don't even know, like, has he made an impact in any game yet this season? Make a couple shots, that's about it. Caleb Martin has really, really, I'll say, let me down. I think the guy still has it, but here's a guy that probably was playing 20 minutes in Miami, and we're trying 30 here. So similar to Kyle Lowry, they're not finding their roles, but they're also being used way too much for their age and experience.
Yeah, they really are, man. It's not the way it's supposed to be.
No,
it's just not. It's not the way it was supposed to be. I mean, you're talking a team that was supposed to have all these guys, like you just mentioned, Caleb Martin. He looks terrible. Like, and what kills me about it is this isn't a rookie. Like, I don't want to hear, like, he's got to get used to the system. This is a veteran. Like, he's just not going to find his shot now. We're not working on mechanics. Like, something's off, man. I don't know what it is. Something's off. And it's funny, Dave, but I know it's early, and you got Maxey out there saying, hey, man, don't count us out yet. Yeah. But the problem is you can dig a hole pretty deep. And they're lucky. They're lucky that some of these teams within the East, like Milwaukee, is still trying to find their way. But Cleveland's out there just running away, man. That team is legit. It really is.
What's pretty cool to see is, obviously, I think they made a controversial move in the offseason, firing their coach and moving on to Kenny Atkinson. Because, I mean, they were a very solid team last year that, lost in the 4-5 game to the New York Knicks. And we obviously and that was in the second round. I'm sorry, they won the first round, lost in the second round to the Knicks after the Knicks beat us. So I don't know. I thought it was a stretch to fire, but look what they're doing now, and they're doing it with a lot of blue players and younger players. So I give them a ton of credit. You're right. They're here to stay. They're not going anywhere. The only good news is the East has 2 or 3 teams above 500, and that's it.
Yep.
So, I mean, is there a chance to rebound? Yes. Will this team get better? Yes. But even getting to 500 by the end of the season, you're putting yourself against a Boston, a Cleveland, a New York. So it's going to be a tough first round. They've dug themselves such a deep hole that they're going to put themselves in a really hard first round series.
No, you're right. Listen, I think that they're lucky that Milwaukee has been like shit.
Yeah.
And they're lucky that I hate the fact that Paolo got injured in Orlando, but because of that opened up them as well because they're not as strong, and we predicted them to be a top 4, top 5 team. So, it's just I don't know, man. Like we've been through this how many times, and I don't get a good vibe. I just don't get a good vibe. And listen, it may change. I don't know. It may change. But speaking of vibes, man, how about that? What is going on with that Milwaukee team, man? Like, is that the Doc Rivers effect all over again? What's going on out there?
It's got to be some of it. I mean, Dame, he's sitting out a few games, then he's tweeting about the bad call the other night in Charlotte. But Doc, he didn't have any challenges left, so he couldn't challenge it. I don't think that, for one, they have any faith in Doc. So, and then that goes to probably some of the veteran play when we were here, too. Obviously, Harden found his way out of town because of his relationship with Doc at the time, and it just severed it. Look, Doc is just not – we saw it, right? Like, he needs a great coaching staff around him, and he might have one in Milwaukee, but in the end, Doc's going to be Doc. And I don't think he can coach star players anymore. I just truly believe it. He couldn't find it. He had it made in the shade with the Philadelphia 76ers, up 3-1 against Boston Blue. Like – I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with Doc, but I think the pairing of Dame and Giannis, it's just not there. Did you see Giannis, what was about a week ago, talking to reporters and then started yelling in his locker room, if you don't want to be here, don't be here. If you don't want to play hard. He was yelling to somebody in the locker room. Nobody knows who it was, but they have a lot more problems than just Doc, but I don't think he helps things.
No, definitely does not, man. 100%. Again, talking to my man Dave Blackner right here, talking a little NBA, NFL rundown. Dave at Sirius XM, Win Daily. Dave, I talked a little NFL, and we were talking earlier with our boy Japan, and I was talking about the MVP race, and I was just like, I was in awe last night of that game, and I want to talk to you because all season you were. Not only were you excited about it, but you were hammering the Josh Allen train. Josh Allen. And I know they started off slow, but that last drive and that last run, that was an MVP Hall of Fame kind of play. And, looking at the MVP rate, did he just cement himself as the number 1 lead dog in that race?
I think he did. Lamar Jackson's numbers are just absolutely tremendous, and I get it. But to the point where Allen almost has to wear the cape and fly himself right now, because at least Lamar has Derrick Henry. He's got some Zay Flowers. He's got some other weapons. Mark Andrews is still in there. Name me someone else that's helping Josh Allen. I know Cook is there, but it's not. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, but like 3 yards of carry. It's Josh Allen, and that's what got me so mad at yesterday's game. 3rd and 1 right before that huge run. They decide to give the ball to Ty Johnson. And I'm screaming at my TV, the best player in football you have, and you decide against the best, the Kansas City Chiefs, undefeated team, we're going to decide this game with 2 minutes left with Ty Johnson? No, give the ball to Josh Allen. RPO, anything. Let him decide the game. So when they went for it on 4th and 2, I was so glad to see Allen say, F it, this is mine, game over. And Tony, you're right. And there's another thing about Josh Allen that I'm loving right now. And maybe people do or don't like this, but he treated that like it was just another game. And when it was over, he still treated it as just another game. And I truly believe him because he knows I haven't beat them in the playoffs. This is great. I'm not going to go celebrate. And that mentality, that leadership style, it's everything. So I agree. I think Josh Allen has matured greatly. we've seen it with the turnovers, right? They've been minimized so greatly this year. I do think he's put himself, and obviously now there are 2 games up on the Ravens too. I think everything you said, I think he is the front runner. I won't count out Lamar, but I think Josh Allen is definitely the front runner right now.
I'll tell you, man, and I asked this, and I want to hear what you got to say about this too. The MVP, I know it is a quarterback driven award, right? It's never going to change. But what we're witnessing in Saquon Barkley and what he means to this Philadelphia Eagles team, what he means to this offense, I don't think there's another player more important to his team right now other than Josh Allen in Saquon Barkley. That will he get now? Japan said offensive player of the year, which I think is obviously I get it, but like, why can't he get those accolades, man? Because he's been that damn good.
I know, it's crazy. I remember writing an article for Win Daily back last year and talking about the MVP race. And the one thing that it's crazy to think, but out of 23 winners since 2000, now it made it 24 with Lamar last year. 20 were QBs. You had 4 that were running backs in the past 24 years. Marshall Faulk in 2000 had 2,189 scrimmage yards and 26 TDs. It was an incredible year, right? And then in 05, Sean Alexander, 1,880 rushing yards, 27 TDs. The next year, LaDaine Tomlin goes for more with 28 TDs, 1,815. And then we had the Adrian Peterson year when he went over 2,000 yards rushing. So it has to, what I'm getting at is it has to take an absolutely historic season. When we name all those guys, I think outside of Marshall Faulk, that's it for their team. Sean Alexander was the guy. LaDainian was the guy. Adrian was the guy on that Vikings team. I think the problem with Saquon he's going to have is you still got AJ getting a lot of accolades. Jalen Hurts is stealing his rushing touchdowns. I mean, vulturing has taken 9 from the 1-yard line, and the defense is good. So you're right. Everything you say about Saquon, he should be mentioned more, but you almost have to be the only guy on your offense and go for 2,000 plus yards. And I just don't think he'll get there, and that's why a running back once again will get overlooked. But I'm with you. He should have votes, no doubt.
Now, speaking of that, man, are you ready? Are you ready to say that the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl contenders?
Yeah, I am. And I got there right around the Bengals week when Cooper DeJean made that great play against Jamar Chase. And I'm fully convinced now, if this defense is what it is, and I think it is, and you have Saquon and A.J. Brown, those 3 pieces alone can carry you to a Super Bowl. Regardless how Jalen plays, all Jalen has to do is make a few plays with the legs and not turn the ball over. With those 3 pieces, A.J. Brown is, if not the best receiver in this league. He won't ever be called the best receiver because all the great guys, but he's just such a problem. And Saquon's the best running back in this league, and then a great defense that right now is leading the league in yards against. They're a Super Bowl contender. I mean, the Lions are a little better right now, and outside that, I mean, the Eagles can easily be ranked top 3 in the league right now.
Yeah, I look at 4 teams, man. Like legitimately 4 teams. It's the Chiefs, it's the Bills, it's the Eagles, and the Lions.
See, the Ravens I still give a little respect to, but I hear you. It's that bad pass defense that will come back to haunt them. I agree. Yeah,
no, you're right. You're right. I always forget about the Ravens, possibly because their defense is not what we used to, what we're used to, accustomed, man. But just looking at the NFL as a whole, man, there's a lot of really interesting storylines this year, man. Like I was talking earlier to Japan, and I opened up the show talking about underappreciated coach, underappreciated player. For me, Matthew Stafford having a year that nobody's appreciating at the age and, on the team that he's on. And on the flip side of coach, man, I don't know if you're a Payton. I'm a Sean Payton guy. What Sean Payton is doing right now, they're not. They're 5-5. I get it, or 6-5, whatever. But what he's doing with Bo Nix and what he's doing with that offense, man, like somebody's got to be like, yo, this is a quarterback or a head coaching masterclass going on right now.
And I agree with everything you said. I'll give you 2 others that I find just as interesting as this. Jim Harbaugh in LA and just doing things his way and turning Justin Herbert into just an absolute star, which we always knew he was. And then Mike Tomlin, that team should not be 8-2. I'm sorry. Like every time I watch them, they've won 2 games with 6 field goals. They beat the Falcons in week 1, 18-10, and then win this week 18-16. Like it shouldn't be, but that's a masterclass in coaching. And he's put them at the, precipice, the top of the AFC. So yeah, I'm very impressed by Sean Payton. I'll go back to your point. And Bo Nix has put his name into the Rookie of the Year. It won't get there probably because of the Jaden Daniels story, but he's going to get some votes. And you're right about Stafford. That NFC West, it's must-see TV every week now. Leader at 6-4, the rest at 5-5. Like it's anybody's game with 6 weeks left. It's great.
How about Geno last week, man, or this week, man, in that final drive against the not like. I mean, my God, another that's the thing, and I know that we all are. I say all because we're brothers within the industry, right? So we love sports betting, we love fantasy, but just as a fan, I'm sitting there and every weekend, and I watch Red Zone and I watch the games, and I'm just sitting there, certain throws, certain plays, and just in awe of what I'm watching, and. Like you talked about Justin Herbert, right? How many times have we talk about, in the all season on the show about, Jim Harbaugh, man, he's a quarterback whisperer. What's he doing? And it's exactly what he's doing, right? But that dot he threw to Will Disley. I mean, are you kidding? And then you watch Geno, right? You make the play he did. And then dude, I just, George Kittle's catch last week with the two, in the back of the end zone. Dave, I'm just in awe of some of this play that we're watching.
Yeah, and some people say, there's bad football going on right now. But to me, it's great football. Like, there's not one dominant team. The Chiefs, a lot of people say they smell like the Eagles from last year, and it's probably rightfully so. Their point differential shows they should be closer to a 6-14 than 9-1. So there's no dominant team that can be beat on any week. I mean, we've been beat by the Falcons and the Bucks already. So and the Lions got beat by the Bucks. So I think it's fascinating football. I'm with you. Like a team like Cincinnati, let's take them for a second, because that was just such an awesome comeback last night, only to be let down by their kicker, who I think it's Jake Elliott-esque, right? He's had some great season, has helped propel them to the Super Bowl, but now is being, maybe looked at as for a replacement. But Cincinnati's 4-7. And Joe Burrow is 27-4 this year. That team, if they can somehow find a way in, how dangerous could that team be? That's what I mean. They're the Dolphins, 4-6, right? But they've won 2 in a row. That was an impressive win against the Rams 2 weeks ago, and then they beat Vegas. And they're not out of it if they tighten things up, because they have that offensive firepower. I find this league just so fascinating this year.
No, I agree, man. That's what I love about it. It's all for grabs. I feel like every week it's coming down to the final 3 minutes of a drive, the final 2 minutes of a game. It's so interesting and fascinating to me to be able to watch it. Now I got to ask you about your boy, man. He didn't start off well, but he finished well. Your boy Anthony Richardson, and we're seeing this, across the NFL. We just watched Danny Dimes get benched, but it's bench the young guys, give them a couple weeks, then bring them back. We watched them Bryce Young. Now I watched Anthony Richardson. Do you think it works? Did you like what you saw from Anthony Richardson?
Well, first, I was on this show 2 weeks ago. I said, it's time to bring back Anthony Richardson. And then when you announced and you're like, no, he's going with Flacco again. It's why? Yeah. It makes no sense. So all along, it was never the right move. Now, I get that you had to send a message to your team because the way he acted like a child. Let's be honest. It was childish behavior for him to take himself out of the game and then laugh about it afterwards. So he had to send his team a message for at least one game. That is not the way we play here in Indianapolis. But this yin and yang, and they even said at the beginning of this week, no, it's Flacco again. Oh, wait, I changed my mind on Tuesday. It is Richardson. I think they got lucky. I'm just going to be honest. I think Shane Steichen's got lucky. I don't know if it's the powers that be above him or telling him what to do or such forth, but he got lucky. And luckily, Anthony Richardson paid off. And he played really well. And he's admitting to his mistakes, which I think is very mature of him And I think sometimes it does have to take a step back, lose what you love, and not be handed to, and to earn it again. And he earned it this weekend. So I think in this case, I think it ended up being a good move. And I think the Colts might look, they're 5-6. They're not totally out of this thing. Houston, I mean, they'll probably win tonight, obviously, against the Cowboys. But, outside of that, I mean, they're a game out of the playoff spot. So Anthony Richardson gives them the best chance to win. He had his best game of his career, I'll say. 20 to 30 was his best completion percentage over 12 attempts in a game. I think there's some real potential here for them to get better. But, yeah, in this case, to answer your question, it worked. But I do think they got a little lucky. I don't think they played it right.
Nah. Listen, man. It's funny because, you look around and you look at some of these young quarterbacks and you're just thinking to yourself, are they in the right system? And I say that all the time. Are they actually building the right way? And some organizations they do, some organizations they don't. And I don't think Indy is doing him any justice whatsoever with what they're trying to do. They're just not utilizing his skill set the way they should be. But speaking of skill set, man, I haven't asked you about the Birds, man. Like, Thursday night, Washington, big win. It separates ourselves. We talked about, after the bye, this has been a different team. I want to give you my theory, and I want to let me know if it makes sense. So we knew coming into this year that Sirianni, they wanted him to just be an overseer, and they brought in the 2 veteran guys and coordinators. And I think in the first few games, he didn't allow that to happen. And I think in the bye, they had to sit down and say, yo, you need to take a step back. I want more power in Vic's hands, more power in Kellen's hands. And you need to stop doing this, stop doing that. And what we've seen is now Nick Sirianni being a kind of what Doug Peterson was in our Super Bowl year, kind of just being the overseer, so to speak, of the team, being the guy to keep everybody together. But power-wise, this has Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore all over it, in my opinion, man. There's a reason why everything's clicked. I think it's those two technically running the show more than Nick Sirianni.
I'm pretty much all the way there with you. I think really the only difference I have is I'm not sure Nick Sirianni has hands as much in it in the up to the bye as is when you bring in 2 brand new coordinators and you don't play anybody in the preseason. And then week 1, week 2, week 3 come in and they're still feeling out who's the guy they got to play. And obviously Cooper DeJean being hurt and not really getting on the field till after the bye. I think it was more of these guys need to figure out who their players were. They pay a lot of money to Bryce Huff. Well, now he doesn't see the field. But early in the season, he did. I think it was more they had to get used to the systems and they had to trust the systems. I do think Sirianni, to your point, was probably meddling a little more than he should have. And he has taken a step back, except for some of the 4th down calls and some decisions, he's only making those calls, let's agree, versus teams that he knows he can beat bad and he can live when those plays don't work, his team's good enough to still win games. So it's only really happened against Jacksonville and Cleveland. But yeah, to your point, the drivers of this team are Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. And I think Kellen and Nick are showing a pretty good bond on the sidelines. They're jumping up, slapping high five, they're chest bumping. Like, I do think there is a very good vibe going on. I know winning does that, but I think Nick has taken a bigger step backwards. But I also think the team just needed time to learn these systems and trust them.
I mean, I do think that there's something to that. I do. And you bring up a great point about the preseason because, nowadays it's almost like it takes you 4 games just to get the rust off. You know what I mean? So so that obviously is one of the issues. Now, before I let you go, we had my man Jimmy Mack up here that joins me every Monday talking about the Phillies, and we talked about, obviously we were talking about the Juan Soto thing, we're talking about the salaries, but we're talking about 2 things. Number 1, the Alex Bregman talk, and then seeing those numbers. I can already see it. I know you're not behind that. And then the other thing was the Carlos Estevez, numbers like 336, 340. Either one of those deals, does anything interest you? Either one of those?
No and no. And listen, I mean, Alex Bregman, I think he's a heck of a player. Problem is, he's a Boris guy, right? So we're going to have a problem trying to, get the right deal. And when you look at a guy that, he's already 30, going to be playing an age 31 year next year. We've signed some of these other guys. Soto's different. I think he's age 27, I want to say. I'll pay that man his money. We can't keep giving. We saw this with the 09 Phillies when we paid everybody like Rollins, Utley, Howard, all at the same time, and it came back to bite us, and they all got old quick. I think you have to have some balance of young and old. So to that point, I can't give Bregman that money. I just can't. I do think there are some things that need to be done. I'm open to exploring the trade market for Alec Boehm. I am, but I'm not open to paying $300 million for a 31-year-old third baseman. I'm just not.
Nah, man. Like you made a good point about 07, 08, 09. We Ruben did everything he could. He paid all these guys. He gave them their flowers. He paid them for past performances, just like we did. I get it. That's
what you do. And I got it.
Yeah. It blew up. Right. And we're not in a position to have it blow up, man. I'm with you. I don't do it. I don't do either or. Unfortunately, I don't think we get Soto. I'm not going to say we're not going to try. I just think he stays in New York. And then it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what they do from a pitching perspective. Do they go after Garrett Crochet? Do they give up the assets to get them? Do they stay put? Do they do the secondary market? I don't know, man. Like, looking at what do you see? Like your crystal ball, what do you see happening?
Well, yeah, I mean, the good news is if you follow John Middleton, I mean, he's pretty much said he got a few new investors to give the Phillies some influx of cash. And the key terms there are people are like, oh, but what about the third apron and this? That's why they got the extra money, because if they go to the third apron, they'll pay the penalty because they got this money. And he knows if they keep going to the playoffs and they keep filling that stadium, he's going to get that money back. So I do really believe John Middleton when he says he's willing to pay for Soto. I agree with you. I don't think he leaves New York. I think he got too much a taste of the apple this year. He'll stay with one of those two teams, and that's okay. But I think Middleton's going to give his best push. And obviously with Kevin Long still here, you have some pieces that'll at least let him talk to him. But all right, I say they're out on Soto, but I think they make a move to get an outfielder. I think they make a move to get a starting pitcher. There's a lot out there. I think Crochet is a really interesting one that you speak of. I mean, Corbin Burns is a free agent. Blake Snell's a free agent. I don't think either of them kind of fit what they want to do here with Nola and Wheeler. Crochet fits because he's in that late 20s range. You got to have some balance in age on this team. So I think they get there. And what'll be interesting is the bullpen, right? I think they lose both Hoffman and Estevez, and I'm okay with that. I am, as much as I think both are good power righties. Bullpens are just when you think you got the worst one, it turns into be somehow really good. And when you think you got a really good one, it turns out bad. Like the Phillies thought they had a great bullpen going to the playoffs, and it imploded. I think you can resurrect some people. I think you can find values in free agency in the bullpen. So they'll get a couple arms there that none of them will wow us. But I do think they splash on a starter. I think they splash on an outfielder. And I think they entertain flipping this infield around. I don't know if they get there, but I mean, you could see. I mean, I think there's a chance they could try and move some pieces.
That should be interesting. That's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. But I'm having a little fun. Get you out of here on this, man. Because I know, when we're hosting together, we always got the hip hop intros. We always got the 90s hip hop and 90s R&B. Released 38 years ago. Beastie Boys, Licensed to Ill, 38 years ago. And now, 3 days ago, November 15th, 1986. Number one, did you own it? Number two, if you did, what was your favorite track?
Oh, hell yeah. And what was it? I want to say it was the Airplane. It was like a white cover. Yes. Yeah. I think it was No Sleep Till Brooklyn. I just I don't know, that just those words and it would just get you fired up and the beat. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Man, there were so many on there. I'm gonna say No Sleep Till Brooklyn though. I really dug it.
I'm with you, man. It was No, see, she's crafty. So we got she's
Oh,
crafty.
yeah, so She's Crafty was good. Yeah.
You got Brass Monkey, right? Like,
Yeah, that funky monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember,
Paul
yeah.
Revere, like, you know what I mean?
Paul
Like,
Revere was so cool. Like Paul
Oh.
Revere, but I mean, I want to get hype. Paul Revere, I'm not getting hype. But I mean, I want to sit back and just jam and learn every word. Paul Revere was great.
I'll tell you, man. I mean, a lot of people go fight for your right? Because that was like the
No.
first one. But it just like, again, you know, me and you have talked about this over and over again as I'm sitting here listening to 90s music and here. There's never been another better era of music in so many different genres. Right. So and they paved the way, man. It's amazing. 38 years and I could still rock it today.
Yeah,
you know
that's
I mean?
great. Yo, and the thing about the 90s and late 80s, and we'll just say like you said, everything. I mean, you had some rock, you had some rap, but hip hop was, you know, hip hop and rap were a little bit different at the time, spreading across. But I'll tell you, I was into some R&B. They've never made it again. Anything like the 80s and 90s with my boys Jodeci, you know, God bless them, R. Kelly. But I mean, you know, there was some good stuff back, but they don't make it like that anymore, man.
No, there was that litany of R&B groups in the 90s, that like the High Fives, the H-Towns, the Next
112. Yeah.
112, like, you know, Drew Hill, like, you know, LSG.
Yeah.
You know, like nobody. And then you had guy, you know, with the Aaron Halls and the Keith Sweats and the, like, you're not getting that anymore, man.
No, that's what I was getting. When you said that music, then I loved it.
Yep.
And I missed that piece of it. But yeah, I mean, there's good music today, but they don't quite. Nothing's gonna be like back then. And then we're not old. We're just respecting it.
No, exactly. Right now, I got Whitney going in the background. Like, seriously, how can you get me and I have no love for Whitney? You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah. At the end of the day, man, that was the era. Right? Exactly. Right. You got exactly. We always got to have love for Whitney, man.
You do.
Always got to have love.
And Bobby Brown, I'm telling you, yo, ain't nobody humping around, yo.
Bobby, you know, I still remember where I was when I bought the "Don't Be Cruel" album.
Oh,
man.
Don't Be Cruel. Oh yeah.
Oh my.
And every little step, and when he did the remix,
oh man, dude,
back to the bit Brown.
Yeah. Remember when it did the Ghostbusters song?
Oh yes, yeah, yep.
He was all over, man. But Dave, yo, man, I'm gonna let you go, brother. I appreciate you giving me your time. What do you got going on this week, bro?
Yeah, man, just got off. I'll be on Sirius Saturday night coming up. Have a show talking about a lot of NFL Week 12 action and getting into some college football. We'll be doing a college football show Saturday morning. We had a couple big hits this weekend with our college football show. So obviously active in the football world, but Tony, as always, I'll be on Twitter just giving my unfiltered opinion about the world of sports. So keep an eye on that.
I love it, brother. I love it, man. We'll get you back on as always, Dave. I appreciate it, brother. You have a good night.
All right, take care, bud. See you.
My man, Dave Gleckner from Sirius XM and Win Daily, as always. We're going to get back together, and we're going to be on that. We're going to be on that train for real, definitely. He said a lot of interesting things, man. He said a lot of interesting things when it comes to everybody, the Phillies, the Sixers, the Eagles, NFL in general, you name it, man. But one thing's for sure, we have a time right now, in this city where there is, we got Billy Joel playing right now. I cannot look at Uptown Girl. I got a lot of stuff going on right now, but it will be interesting if the momentum can continue. That's the biggest thing. Can the momentum continue? And that's what we want to see. Now, we do a live check-in right here, and we see before we get out of here what our bets are doing in this game. Are they even giving us any chance of hitting? So let's see. We have, and I see, it's funny, as Dave was on there, I watched Rico Dowdle just completely drop a ball, which really makes me really cringe a little bit when we come to our parlay. But I did see CJ Stroud run at least one time, so we'll see where that's at. Let's see. We are see, this is live updates before we get out of here. And right now we're looking at, we already hit the Joe Mixon rushing, so that's already good. We got one attempt for CJ Stroud, and we still again have nothing from Tolbert or Dowdle. So we'll see. First quarter, and in 14-0 Texans. Obviously, Joe Mixon just taking over, man. Like we said, man amongst boys, man. He was injured a few games, came back. I think if he wasn't, I think he would have had the opportunity to be more in the race for Offensive Player of the Year, because I do think with that team in general listen, man, it goes and runs with Joe Mixon. And I know that Nico comes back tonight, and I know they have an MVP candidate in their own right, again with CJ Stroud. But at the end of the day, look at this, man. Shout out to my boy Kilkenny. I don't know if you follow Kilkenny on Twitter, but it's another moonshot tonight on John Menchie's over 13.5. Just doubles his money from 2,500 to 4,500 on that hit, and he hits on the first play of the game with 12 minutes left in the first quarter, man. Good for him, man. Shout out to him and all of the Mooney gang for sure, man. But listen, man, it's been real. We're going to get out of here. I'm going to thank Japan for hopping on. I'm going to thank my man, Johnny. My bad. My man Jimmy Mack hopping on for talking about the Phillies, and my man Dave Gleckner hopping on, talk about all things in Philly sports. And as always, everybody at Pike's Pub, my man Matt for making this happen like we are every Monday from 6 to 9. Make sure you get on Facebook and you follow the Pike's Pub Facebook page every single day, dropping their entertainment and their food specials as well. So you can hop on as always and ask comments and talk and call in, whatever you like to do, like we do every single week right here. But everybody have a fantastic evening. We're going to go root on the Sixers and this Monday Night Football game. And we'll catch you right back here next week for another edition of the Tony Cutillo Show live here from Pike's Pub.